Beneath the surface of the skin, within the quiet depths of the human body, a river flows. It is not a river of water, but one of life itself, a soft and endless current that moves with purpose and grace. From the moment the heart begins to beat, long before birth, this inner river carries warmth, sustenance, and vitality to every corner of the body. It moves through an intricate network of passageways, weaving a story that never pauses, even in sleep. This is the story of circulation, the gentle, ceaseless motion that sustains human life. If we were to imagine the body as a landscape, blood would be its flowing water, and blood vessels, the channels that guide its course. The heart would be the mountain spring from which all begins, and the lungs, the quiet lakes where air and life intermingle. Each beat of the heart sends a wave through this living landscape, a subtle pulse that spreads outward through arteries, reaches the smallest capillaries, and returns home again through the veins. It is a cycle without end, a rhythmic dance of delivery and return that continues through every breath, every moment of a person's existence. At first glance, it might seem mechanical, a pump pushing a fluid through pipes, but this comparison misses the quiet artistry of the system. The body's circulation is not a rigid mechanism. It is a living network that listens and responds. Blood vessels widen when more warmth or oxygen is needed. They narrow when the body seeks to conserve heat or pressure. The heart beats faster when energy demands rise, and slows when rest settles in. Every movement within the body, from the faint twitch of an eyelid to the steady growth of hair, depends on this silent river and its perfect balance. This flowing system, known as the circulatory system, is both simple and intricate. Its purpose can be described in a few words: to deliver and to remove. Yet its structure and coordination reveal a masterpiece of natural design. The blood it carries is not merely a red fluid. It is a vibrant mixture of cells and plasma, each with a task. Red blood cells ferry oxygen, a gift from the lungs, to the tissues that depend upon it. White blood cells patrol and protect, defending the body from invaders too small to see. Platelets stand ready to mend the vessel walls should they be torn, and the plasma, pale and shimmering, carries nutrients, hormones, and countless other molecules, each finding its destination as if guided by memory. The journey begins at the heart, that rhythmic muscle resting deep within the chest. With each contraction, it sends blood outward into the arteries, vessels built with strength and elasticity. From there, the blood moves through progressively smaller branches until it reaches the capillaries, the thinnest of all vessels, where it pauses to exchange gases and nourishment with the tissues. Having delivered its cargo, the blood begins its gentle return, collecting into veins that guide it back toward the heart once more. The cycle repeats endlessly, completing itself in less than a minute for a single drop of blood in motion. Within this elegant loop lie two great circuits. The first, known as the systemic circuit, carries oxygen-rich blood from the heart to the entire body, to the muscles that move, the organs that work, and the skin that feels. The second, the pulmonary circuit, is shorter and more delicate. It carries the blood from the heart to the lungs, where it releases carbon dioxide, a quiet byproduct of life, and gathers fresh oxygen to renew its vitality. Together, these two circuits form one continuous path, one grand circle of life that links every cell to every breath. In the stillness of night, while the world outside is quiet, this inner current continues unbroken. Even in sleep, when the mind drifts and the muscles rest, the heart keeps its rhythm, and the blood glides through its invisible roots. Each pulse is a whisper of continuity, a reminder that life is not a series of moments, but a flow smooth, connected, and enduring. What makes this system so quietly remarkable is its ability to maintain harmony. The body's needs change constantly with motion, temperature, emotion, and thought. Yet the circulatory system adjusts without command. Tiny sensors in the vessels detect changes in pressure. The nervous system sends signals to the heart and arteries, guiding them toward balance. The kidneys, silent and patient, influence the volume of blood and the salts within it. The lungs coordinate their rhythm with the heart, ensuring the right balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Each part contributes in its own way, yet all serve one shared purpose: to keep the flow steady and true. If we were able to trace this network visually, it would reveal a structure of astonishing scale and delicacy. The total length of all the blood vessels in an adult human body is estimated to be more than 60,000 miles, long enough to circle the Earth more than twice. Within this immense network, arteries form the strong, high-pressure pathways that carry blood outward from the heart. Veins, with their gentler walls and hidden valves, return it. Capillaries, barely wide enough for a single red blood cell to pass through, connect the two systems like invisible threads, allowing the exchange that keeps every tissue alive. The flow of blood is also a flow of information. Hormones released by distant glands travel through the bloodstream to reach their targets, carrying messages that influence growth, mood, and metabolism. Nutrients absorbed from food make their way to cells that transform them into energy. Heat, generated by muscles and metabolism, is distributed evenly across the body, keeping its temperature within the narrow range necessary for life. The blood, in essence, is not only the carrier of materials, but also the messenger and the regulator, a medium through which the body communicates with itself. Through all of this, there is a profound sense of order and rhythm. Every heartbeat creates a wave that travels outward, moving through vessels that expand and contract in response. If one were to listen closely, perhaps through the soft touch of fingers at the wrist or neck, that rhythm could be felt, a steady reminder of presence and persistence. It is a rhythm that begins before thought and continues without awareness. An ancient pulse connecting every moment of existence, from the first breath to the last. When one begins to study the circulatory system, it becomes clear that it is not merely a physical network, but a reflection of balance itself. It demonstrates how constant motion can coexist with calm, how energy can move through stillness. Within this flow lies the body's quiet intelligence, a design shaped not by haste but by harmony. The vessels do not compete, they cooperate. The heart does not command, it collaborates. Every drop of blood, every contraction of muscle, every exchange within a capillary is a small part of a vast and unified pattern. Perhaps this is why the study of circulation carries a sense of peace. To contemplate the rivers within is to realize how life sustains itself without noise or demand. Beneath the pulse of daily activity, the body continues its serene work, a quiet equilibrium between giving and receiving. The arteries send, the veins return, the heart renews again and again, without rest, without interruption. As you rest and listen to this, imagine that inner river flowing gently within you. Feel the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat, steady and calm. Picture the blood moving through countless vessels, carrying warmth to your fingertips and to your toes. Within this continuous motion lies the assurance of life, simple, constant, and deeply peaceful. In essence, the story of circulation is the story of balance made visible. It is the harmony between pressure and release, between giving and returning, between motion and stillness. Reminds us that life is not sustained by force, but by the quiet cooperation of countless small movements, each contributing to the whole. The human body, with all its complexity, depends on this unseen river, a steady current of life that flows through every heartbeat, every breath, and every sleeping moment. And as we journey further into its details, the arteries that carry, the veins that return, and the capillaries that connect, we will continue to follow this gentle rhythm, exploring how the river within us sustains the miracle of being alive. The circulatory system, a map of motion. To understand the circulatory system is to understand one of nature's most elegant designs, a living network that moves endlessly and with purpose. Within the human body, blood does not wander aimlessly but follows a well-planned path, guided through vessels that branch, divide, and reconnect with quiet precision. It is a system of perfect circulation, where every drop has a destination and every vessel a role. The entire process repeats itself with such constancy that we often forget it is happening at all, even though, without it, life could not continue for more than a few moments. At the center of this map of motion lies the heart, the silent architect of rhythm. It does not rule through force, but through pattern, through the reliable contraction and release that has marked time since before birth. From the heart, the blood travels through an intricate network that touches nearly every cell in the body. The circulatory system, though often described as a single system, is in fact composed of two interwoven circuits that operate together in harmony: the systemic circulation and the pulmonary circulation. These two loops are distinct, yet inseparable, each completing the other's work in a continuous exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nutrients. In one loop, blood flows outward from the heart to the body. This is the systemic circuit. It carries bright, oxygen-rich blood from the left side of the heart to every organ, muscle, and tissue. As it travels, it releases its load of oxygen and nutrients, absorbing carbon dioxide and other wastes in exchange. In the other loop, known as the pulmonary circuit, the blood flows from the heart to the lungs. Here, in the soft, spongy tissue of the lungs, carbon dioxide is released into the air we exhale, and oxygen is drawn in from each breath. The blood then returns to the heart renewed, ready to begin its journey again through the systemic pathway. The two circuits form one continuous cycle: body to heart, heart to lungs, lungs back to heart, and then outward once more to the body. This loop never ceases, a seamless choreography of flow and renewal. The heart structure makes this dual circuit possible. It is divided into 4 chambers, 2 atria at the top and 2 ventricles below. The right atrium receives blood returning from the body, depleted of oxygen but rich in carbon dioxide. This blood passes into the right ventricle, which pumps it toward the lungs through the pulmonary arteries. There, in the delicate web of pulmonary capillaries, gas exchange occurs, oxygen enters, carbon dioxide leaves. The oxygenated blood then returns to the left atrium, moves into the left ventricle, and is propelled into the aorta, the body's largest artery, to begin the systemic journey once again. Each beat of the heart represents this dual motion, one half sending blood to the lungs, the other sending it to the body. If you could trace a single drop of blood, you would see it complete this entire circuit in less than a minute at rest. It begins in the left ventricle, surging into the aorta under pressure. From there, it flows into smaller and smaller arteries, branching like the limbs of a tree until it reaches the tiniest arterioles that feed the capillary beds of the tissues. Here, the blood slows. The capillaries, so fine that red blood cells must pass through them one by one, allow an intimate exchange. Oxygen diffuses outward into the tissues, while carbon dioxide and waste products pass back into the blood. After this exchange, the blood begins its return through small venules, which merge into veins, and eventually find their way back to the right atrium. The heart then draws it in again and sends it toward the lungs to begin anew. The wonder of this design lies not only in its continuity, but also in its responsiveness. The circulatory system adjusts effortlessly to the body's ever-changing demands. During sleep, when the body rests and energy needs are minimal, the heart slows its pace, and blood moves with a gentle rhythm, enough to maintain the quiet necessities of metabolism. When activity begins, a walk, a climb, or even a thought that stirs excitement, the heart responds instantly. It beats more quickly, pushing blood faster through the arteries, ensuring that oxygen reaches the muscles and brain. The vessels themselves respond as well. Arterioles dilate in active tissues, allowing more flow where it is needed, and constrict in less active regions to preserve balance. This coordination is so precise that it happens moment by moment, second by second, without a thought. Blood flow, however, is not constant throughout the body. It is carefully directed and distributed. At any given time, only a fraction of the capillaries in a particular organ are fully open. The rest remain closed or partly constricted, awaiting demand. When you eat, for example, blood is directed more heavily toward the digestive organs, supporting the process of absorption and metabolism. During exercise, the flow shifts toward muscles and the skin, allowing both movement and temperature regulation. Even emotional states, calm, fear, excitement, influence this quiet network. The vessels respond subtly to signals from the nervous system, tightening or relaxing in tune with the rhythms of the mind. The lungs hold a special place within this system. Unlike the rest of the body, where arteries carry oxygen-rich blood, the pulmonary arteries carry blood low in oxygen toward the lungs. There, within the thin, moist walls of the alveoli, oxygen diffuses into the blood, and carbon dioxide diffuses out, guided by simple gradients of concentration. The capillaries that line these air sacs are so delicate that the exchange happens almost instantly. The freshly oxygenated blood then gathers into the pulmonary veins, the only veins in the body to carry oxygen-rich blood, and returns to the heart's left side. This loop is short, gentle, and perfectly suited for its purpose, to refresh the blood with every breath. In contrast, the systemic circuit is vast, reaching every cell except those of the cornea, which rely on diffusion from surrounding fluids. The arteries that branch from the aorta form highways to specific regions: the coronary arteries for the heart itself, the carotid arteries for the brain, the renal arteries for the kidneys, and many others that serve the organs in precise and coordinated fashion. Within each organ, the arteries divide into a network of capillaries that follow the shape of the tissue, weaving around cells like a lattice of support. The veins mirror this structure in reverse, gathering the blood from capillaries and returning it homeward through increasingly larger channels until it rejoins the main venous trunks, the superior and inferior vena cava. These two great veins empty into the right atrium, completing the circle. The flow within these vessels is not a rushing torrent but a controlled stream, guided by pressure differences and the resilience of vessel walls. The heart's contractions generate the initial pressure, but the elasticity of arteries maintains the flow between beats. As blood moves into smaller vessels, resistance increases, slowing the movement and allowing for exchange. In the veins, where pressure is much lower, the flow is helped along by valves that prevent backflow and by the gentle squeezing of muscles during motion. Even the act of breathing aids circulation, as changes in chest pressure draw blood upward toward the heart. Though the system is largely automatic, it is not without regulation. The brain, kidneys, and endocrine glands constantly monitor and fine-tune the balance. Baroreceptors, tiny pressure sensors in the carotid arteries and aorta, detect shifts in blood pressure and signal adjustments to the heart rate and vessel tone. The kidneys regulate the volume of fluid in the blood, influencing pressure through the balance of water and electrolytes. Hormones like adrenaline and noradrenaline alter vessel diameter and cardiac strength during times of stress or activity. This interplay ensures that despite fluctuations in posture, temperature, or emotion, the circulation remains steady, reliable, and deeply responsive. If you could observe the circulatory system in motion, it would resemble a living map of shimmering pathways. Each vessel, from the great arteries to the smallest capillary, forms part of a connected landscape that sustains every cell. The blood moves continuously, but never aimlessly, always with direction, purpose, and rhythm. It is a motion that reflects the balance between movement and stillness, between force and grace. Within the body's quiet interior, this map of motion is constantly redrawn, new cells forming, old ones passing, vessels expanding or narrowing, yet the overall harmony remains. To think of circulation in this way is to sense the calm beneath the complexity. The blood does not rush in panic. It flows with patience, shaped by the pulse of the heart and the quiet guidance of the vessels. Every journey it takes, from heart to lung to tissue and back again, is a reflection of life's constancy, the endless cycle of giving and returning. It is a system that never sleeps, a map that guides itself, and a motion that carries not only blood, but the quiet assurance of life, continuing, moment by moment, beat by beat. 3. The heart as a pump. At the quiet center of the human body, beneath the ribs and behind the breastbone, rests a small organ that never ceases its work. The heart, no larger than a closed fist, beats with a rhythm that began long before birth and will continue until the final moment of life. It is both powerful and gentle, a living metronome that marks time not in minutes or hours, but in the continuous movement of blood. With each contraction, it sends a pulse of vitality through the arteries, sustaining every cell and organ. In silence, it performs its steady labor, day and night, never tiring, never faltering, shaping the very rhythm of existence. The heart structure is a masterpiece of natural design. It is made of strong, specialized muscle known as cardiac tissue, capable of contracting repeatedly without rest. This muscle, called the myocardium, is unlike any other in the body. It has the endurance of skeletal muscle, yet operates involuntarily, like smooth muscle, guided by its own internal electrical system. Surrounding it are thin layers, the endocardium lining the chambers within, and the pericardium forming a protective sac around the heart. This pericardial sac holds a small amount of fluid, allowing the heart to move freely with each beat, cushioned against friction as it contracts and relaxes within the chest cavity. The heart is divided into 4 chambers, forming a perfectly balanced structure. The upper 2 chambers, the atria, act as receiving rooms for blood returning to the heart. The lower 2 chambers, the ventricles, are muscular and powerful, responsible for pumping blood out to the lungs and the rest of the body. Between these chambers lie delicate yet resilient valves that ensure blood flows in only one direction. The right side of the heart manages the pulmonary circuit, sending blood to the lungs for oxygenation, while the left side oversees the systemic circuit, propelling oxygen-rich blood throughout the body. These 2 halves are separated by a muscular wall called the septum, which prevents the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. When the heart beats, it does so in a precise sequence. The cycle begins with the filling phase, when the atria draw in blood, the right atrium receiving blood low in oxygen from the body through the superior and inferior vena cava, and the left atrium receiving oxygen-rich blood from the lungs through the pulmonary veins. As the atria fill, they gently contract, pushing the blood through the open valves into the ventricles below. Then comes the contraction phase, known as systole. The ventricles contract powerfully, sending blood outward. The right ventricle pushes it through the pulmonary artery toward the lungs, and the left ventricle propels it through the aorta, the body's main artery, into the systemic circulation. After this forceful contraction, the heart relaxes. This is diastole, allowing the chambers to fill again and prepare for the next beat. This cycle occurs roughly 70 times each minute in a resting adult, amounting to more than 100,000 beats every day. The valves that control this flow are marvels of biological engineering. The atrioventricular valves, positioned between the atria and ventricles, open and close with every beat. On the right side, the tricuspid valve has 3 flexible flaps. On the left, The mitral valve has two. These valves are supported by slender tendinous cords, known as chordae tendineae, which attach to small muscles within the ventricles called papillary muscles. As the ventricles contract, these muscles tighten the cords, preventing the valves from folding backward under pressure. At the exits of the ventricles are the semilunar valves, the pulmonary valve on the right and the aortic valve on the left, which open to allow blood to leave the heart and close immediately afterward. Backflow. This seamless coordination of valves produces the gentle, rhythmic sounds we recognize as the heartbeat, the soft lub-dub, echoing through the chest. The heart's rhythm is not dictated by the brain but by its own internal electrical system, an intrinsic conductor that keeps time with remarkable precision. It begins with a small cluster of specialized cells located in the right atrium, known as the sinoatrial node, often called the natural pacemaker. This node generates tiny electrical impulses that spread across the atria, causing them to contract. The impulse then travels to another node, the atrioventricular node, which pauses briefly before sending the signal down through the bundle of His into the right and left bundle branches, and finally into a network of Purkinje fibers that spread throughout the ventricles. This carefully timed sequence ensures that the atria contract first, filling the ventricles, and then the ventricles contract to propel blood outward. The coordination between these electrical and muscular events is so perfect that it rarely falters, maintaining the steady pulse of life with unwavering accuracy. Each heartbeat is a small act of balance between pressure and flow. The heart's strength lies in its ability to generate just enough force to send blood through the vast network of vessels while maintaining harmony with the body's needs. When a person is at rest, the heart moves blood with a calm, steady rhythm, conserving energy while keeping circulation stable. During exertion, when muscles require more oxygen, the heart quickens, increasing both rate and output. It can adjust instantly, shifting from rest to activity and back again without conscious thought. This adaptability allows the circulatory system to remain efficient, whether the body is still or in motion, awake or asleep. Though the heart works ceaselessly, it is not isolated from the system it serves. It listens and responds to signals from throughout the body. The nervous system influences its speed, the sympathetic nerves accelerating it during excitement or exertion, and the parasympathetic nerves slowing it during rest or sleep. Hormones, too, play their part. Adrenaline quickens the beat, while other chemical messengers fine-tune the heart's performance according to the body's needs. The heart also regulates itself. Stretch receptors within its walls sense how much blood fills the chambers and adjust the force of contraction accordingly, ensuring that output matches input precisely. This self-regulating nature allows the heart to operate efficiently, maintaining equilibrium within the ever-changing flow of the circulatory system. The heart's power is sustained by its own dedicated blood supply. Despite pumping blood to every part of the body, it cannot rely on the blood within its chambers for nourishment. Instead, two small arteries, the coronary arteries, branch off from the aorta and spread across the surface of the heart, delivering oxygen and nutrients to the muscle tissue itself. These vessels divide into finer branches that penetrate deep into the myocardium, ensuring that every fiber receives the oxygen it needs to contract. The blood then returns through coronary veins, draining into the right atrium. Even this circulation within a circulation operates with graceful precision, a smaller reflection of the larger system it supports. If one were to imagine the heart at work, it might resemble a quiet, rhythmic tide. The chambers fill and empty, the valves open and close, and the walls pulse in an unending sequence of motion. Yet, despite this constant activity, the heart's movements are smooth, controlled, and deeply synchronized. It is a motion that conveys not urgency, but calm purpose. The sound of the heartbeat, when listened to closely, is a soft reminder of life's persistence, a measured rhythm that continues, regardless of thought, a steady presence beneath silence. In a lifetime, the heart will beat more than 3 billion times, pushing enough blood to fill countless rivers, and through every one of those beats, its purpose remains unchanged: to move life forward, one pulse at a time. It does not pause for fatigue or distraction. It does not seek recognition. It simply performs, guided by its own gentle order. Within the quiet interior of the chest, the heart maintains the balance between motion and stillness, between strength and grace. As we rest and breathe, the heart continues its silent work, circulating warmth through every vein, every capillary, every distant cell. It listens to the needs of the body and responds with unfailing devotion. Though it may be called a pump, it is far more than that. It is the pulse of existence itself, a constant rhythm that speaks of endurance, connection, and the quiet power that sustains all living things. In its steady beating, there is the echo of the earth's own cycles, the rise and fall of tides, the rhythm of seasons, the endless flow of rivers returning to the sea. The human heart, in its ceaseless motion, is a reflection of life's continuity, the enduring, unbroken current that moves gently, faithfully, within us all. 4. Arteries, the pathways of pressure. From the rhythmic chambers of the heart, blood surges outward into the great highways of the body, carried by vessels built to withstand both force and flow. These are the arteries, the strong, resilient pathways that bear the first rush of pressure from each heartbeat. They are the conduits of life's momentum, carrying oxygen-rich blood to every organ and tissue with quiet precision. Though unseen, they form one of the most remarkable structural systems within the human body, their design blending strength with subtle flexibility. They are the first to feel the pulse of the heart and the first to deliver its message of vitality. Arteries differ from other vessels in both form and function. Their walls are thick and layered, built to resist the high pressure generated when the heart contracts. Each wall is composed of 3 distinct layers, known as tunics. The innermost, the tunica intima, is smooth and delicate, lined with a thin layer of endothelial cells that reduce friction and guide the blood's movement with effortless grace. The middle layer, the tunica media, is the thickest, a band of elastic fibers and smooth muscle cells that allows the artery to expand and contract with each pulse. Surrounding this is the tunica externa, a sheath of connective tissue that gives structure and protection, anchoring the vessel within the surrounding tissues. Together, these layers allow arteries to combine strength with flexibility, holding firm against pressure yet yielding gently to every heartbeat. When the heart contracts, blood is thrust into the arteries with force. This moment creates the pulse, the rhythmic expansion of arterial walls that can be felt at the wrist, neck, or ankle. Each pulse is a wave of life, a visible sign of the heart's steady rhythm. The aorta, the body's largest artery, is the first to receive this wave. It arches upward from the left ventricle, curving gracefully before descending through the chest and abdomen, sending branches to every region. From it extend the major arteries, the carotid arteries rising toward the head and brain, the subclavian arteries leading to the arms, and the descending branches feeding the vital organs of the torso. With each beat, this vast system expands momentarily, storing energy in its elastic walls, and then recoils, pushing blood forward even as the heart rests between contractions. This elastic rebound smooths the flow, turning the heart's rhythmic surges into a continuous stream. The arteries do not carry blood in isolation. They form an intricate branching pattern that mirrors the structure of trees or river systems. The aorta divides into smaller arteries, which divide again into even smaller vessels called arterioles. Each branching step reduces the vessel's diameter but increases the total cross-sectional area of the system, allowing blood to flow more evenly and with less pressure as it moves farther from the heart. Arterioles play a particularly important role in regulating this flow. Though small, They possess muscular walls that can constrict or dilate in response to the body's needs. When muscles are active, arterioles leading to them widen, allowing greater blood flow. When the body is at rest or conserving heat, these same vessels narrow, reducing circulation to the skin and limbs while maintaining the core's warmth. This fine-tuned control is essential for maintaining stable blood pressure and for ensuring that each tissue receives exactly the amount of blood it requires. Pressure within the arteries is not constant. It rises and falls with the rhythm of the heartbeat. The highest point of pressure, known as systolic pressure, occurs when the ventricles contract and blood is forced into the arterial system. The lowest point, called diastolic pressure, occurs when the heart relaxes and refills. These alternating phases create the pulse pressure, the gentle oscillation that can be felt in the arteries. Maintaining the right balance between these pressures is crucial. Too high, and the arterial walls may become strained over time. Too low, and blood may fail to reach distant tissues effectively. The arteries, with their elastic nature, help buffer these changes, keeping the circulation steady and calm. As blood travels through the body, the nature of the arteries changes. Near the heart, the vessels are large and highly elastic, designed to absorb the strong pulses of blood ejected from the ventricles. Farther away, they become more muscular, with thicker walls relative to their diameter. These muscular arteries, such as those in the limbs, play a greater role in regulating blood distribution, responding quickly to signals from the nervous system. Within their walls are smooth muscle fibers arranged in circular layers. When these muscles contract, the vessel narrows, a process called vasoconstriction. When they relax, the vessel widens, vasodilation. This simple mechanism allows arteries to control both the amount of blood reaching a particular area and the overall resistance that the heart must work against. Arteries also serve as the body's primary conduits for oxygen delivery. Every cell, every organ, relies on the blood they carry. Within this flowing stream are red blood cells, each laden with oxygen molecules bound to hemoglobin. As blood courses through the arteries, it remains bright red, rich with oxygen from the lungs. It travels swiftly, pushed along by pressure, until it reaches the branching arterioles, and finally the capillaries, where the true exchange begins. The arteries, then, are not merely conduits. They are preparatory channels, guiding oxygen to the threshold of its destination. The strength of arterial walls is both a gift and a responsibility. They must resist the constant pressure of the blood, which can be immense, yet remain supple enough to respond to change. Over time, this balance can be affected by factors such as age, diet, and lifestyle. The arteries may lose some of their elasticity, becoming stiffer, which causes the pressure to rise. This gradual process, though natural, reminds us of the delicate harmony that the circulatory system maintains. In youth, the arteries expand easily with each pulse, their walls resilient and responsive. In later years, the same pulse may travel more sharply as the vessels grow firmer. Yet even in this, the body adapts, finding new ways to preserve the smoothness of flow. Within the arteries lies a subtle rhythm of cooperation with the rest of the circulatory system. The veins, quieter and lower in pressure, depend on the arteries to set the pace. The capillaries, fragile and thin, depend on the arteries to deliver the correct pressure for exchange without damage. The heart depends on the artery's elasticity to ease its workload. In this way, each part of the system supports the others. The arteries do not act alone. They form part of a continuous dialogue of movement and balance. If one were to imagine standing inside an artery, the experience would be one of quiet energy. The walls would pulse gently, expanding and contracting like the breathing of a great, living creature. The blood would flow swiftly past, a river of red cells suspended in clear plasma, moving with purpose but without turbulence. The motion would not feel forced, but rhythmic, a steady surge, followed by a calm release. This is the pulse that we feel at the wrist or the neck, not the pounding of pressure, but the soft wave of expansion that moves through the arterial walls with each heartbeat. In every moment, arteries embody the idea of balance, strength guided by softness, motion guided by control. They endure constant pressure, yet remain supple. They transport force, yet deliver calm. Without their resilience, the heartbeat's power would be chaotic, damaging the delicate tissues downstream. Instead, the arteries transform that force into something smooth and steady, a quiet stream that nourishes rather than overwhelms. As the blood moves away from the heart, its pressure gradually diminishes, but its journey is not yet complete. Ahead lie the arterioles and capillaries, where the flow slows and life's true exchanges take place. Yet everything that happens downstream depends upon the steady pulse carried by the arteries, the measured rhythm that began in the heart and continues along these elastic pathways. The arteries are the bearers of that rhythm, the vessels of pressure transformed into grace. In their strength and silence, they remind us that even the most powerful forces in nature can move with gentleness, guiding life forward one quiet pulse at a time. 5. Arterioles and the regulation of flow. As the arteries branch and narrow into ever smaller channels, the rhythm of the bloodstream begins to change. The great pulse that left the heart with force and vigor slows and steadies as it moves through these delicate pathways. The vessels that take over this part of the journey are known as arterioles, tiny but powerful regulators of circulation. Though they are small enough to be invisible to the naked eye, their influence over the entire circulatory system is immense. They are the body's fine-tuning mechanism, determining where and how much blood flows, and in doing so, they shape the very balance of life within every organ and tissue. An arteriole is a slender vessel, narrower than an artery but stronger than a capillary. Its walls contain smooth muscle that responds continuously to the needs of the body. These muscles are arranged in circular layers that can contract or relax, changing the vessel's diameter in a process known as vasomotion. When the smooth muscle contracts, the arteriole narrows a state called vasoconstriction. When it relaxes, the vessel widens, vasodilation. These subtle changes determine the resistance that blood encounters as it travels through the vascular network. By increasing or decreasing this resistance, the arterioles control blood pressure and direct blood flow toward areas of greatest need. Every moment, thousands of these small vessels are adjusting their tone in response to signals from the body. When we rise from rest and begin to move, the muscles demand more oxygen and nutrients. The arterioles in the active muscles sense this change, responding by dilating to allow an increased flow of blood. Meanwhile, arterioles in less active regions, such as the digestive system, gently constrict, diverting flow to where it is most needed. When we rest again, or when we sleep, the opposite occurs. The flow redistributes, favoring the organs of repair and restoration. The arterioles orchestrate this quiet, constant redirection with remarkable precision, ensuring that each part of the body receives exactly what it requires, no more and no less. This control extends beyond simple muscle activity. The arterioles are sensitive to many forms of internal communication, chemical, electrical, and hormonal. The autonomic nervous system sends signals that regulate their contraction. The sympathetic nerves, which prepare the body for activity or stress, release neurotransmitters that cause arterioles in some regions to constrict, increasing pressure and directing blood to essential organs like the heart and brain. Conversely, during rest, parasympathetic influences allow dilation, reducing pressure and encouraging calm, steady flow. Hormones, too, play a role. Substances like adrenaline can cause widespread vasoconstriction or dilation, depending on the receptors present in the vessel walls. In this way, the arterioles become both responders and mediators of the body's internal state, translating chemical and neural messages into the language of flow. The cells surrounding these vessels also contribute to their regulation. Within the tissues, the balance of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and pH acts as a local signal for change. When a region of tissue becomes active and uses more oxygen, carbon dioxide accumulates and the environment becomes slightly more acidic. The nearby arterioles sense these shifts and respond by dilating, increasing blood flow to deliver fresh oxygen and remove waste. When the activity subsides and the balance is restored, the vessels gently constrict again. This process, known as autoregulation, ensures that blood supply matches local demand, even without instruction from the brain. It is a quiet, automatic intelligence embedded in the fabric of the body's circulation. In the brain, this regulation becomes especially refined. The arterioles that serve neural tissue must maintain a delicate equilibrium, supplying a steady flow of oxygen, while preventing fluctuations that could disturb the sensitive neurons. Here, even minor changes in carbon dioxide or pressure elicit precise adjustments. If carbon dioxide levels rise, indicating increased metabolic activity or reduced ventilation, the cerebral arterioles widen, increasing blood flow and restoring balance. This responsiveness is so fine that it protects the brain from both excess and deficiency, maintaining a constant environment essential for thought, sensation, and awareness. Arterioles also play a crucial role in controlling systemic blood pressure, the overall pressure within the circulatory system. Because they are the main point of resistance in the network, even small changes in their diameter can produce large effects on pressure. When the arterioles throughout the body constrict, resistance rises, and blood pressure increases. When they dilate, resistance falls, and pressure decreases. This relationship allows the body to maintain a stable internal environment, even as external conditions change. During cold weather, for example, the arterioles near the surface of the skin constrict, preserving warmth by reducing blood flow to the periphery. In heat, they dilate, allowing blood to flow closer to the surface where heat can dissipate. This same principle helps the body maintain balance during exercise, emotion, or shifts in posture. Though they operate silently, the arterioles are constantly at work managing these adjustments. Their smooth muscle fibers are never fully relaxed or completely tense. Instead, they maintain a state of gentle partial contraction called vascular tone. This baseline tension allows them to respond quickly in either direction, tightening or loosening as needed. The maintenance of this tone depends on a complex interplay of factors: neural input, chemical signals, and the inherent elasticity of the vessel wall. It is this delicate equilibrium that keeps the circulation stable and responsive. The importance of arterioles can also be understood by considering what happens when their regulation falters. If they remain too constricted, blood pressure can rise to harmful levels, straining the heart and damaging delicate capillaries downstream. If they lose tone and become too dilated, pressure drops, and vital organs may not receive enough blood. The body therefore guards their function carefully, using redundant systems of control to ensure that their behavior remains balanced. It is no exaggeration to say that these small vessels hold in their walls the key to stability for the entire circulatory system. Structurally, arterioles are built for both endurance and sensitivity. Their walls are proportionally thicker than those of capillaries, containing several layers of smooth muscle wrapped around a thin lining of endothelium. This inner lining is not passive, it plays an active role in regulation. Endothelial cells release substances that influence the surrounding muscle, such as nitric oxide, which promotes relaxation, or endothelin, which induces constriction. These molecules act locally, diffusing only a short distance to fine-tune the behavior of the vessel. In this way, the arterioles can respond not only to global signals from the brain or hormones, but also to the immediate needs of the tissues they serve. In the quiet depths of the body, these small vessels perform their duties without sound or sensation. They narrow and widen countless times each day, creating subtle shifts in flow that align perfectly with the body's rhythm. During exertion, they open like small gates, welcoming the rush of oxygen to the working muscles. During rest, they close gently, allowing the pulse to slow and the body to recover. Even while we sleep, they continue this dance of contraction and relaxation, responding to the whisper of metabolic changes that occur in dreaming and repair. If one could listen closely enough, perhaps at a scale too fine for human hearing, the movement within the arterioles might sound like a soft, fluctuating hum, the music of balance being maintained. Their work is not dramatic. It is subtle and continuous, defined by adaptation rather than exertion. Each arteriole contributes to a larger harmony, ensuring that the heart's pulse does not fade into chaos but instead remains a calm, guiding rhythm throughout the body. Ultimately, the story of the arterioles is one of control, expressed through gentleness. They do not force the blood to move but invite it, guiding its path through fine adjustments of tone and diameter. Through them, the raw energy of the heartbeat is tempered into something more refined, a measured, responsive flow that nourishes without overwhelming. In their silence, they embody one of the body's greatest strengths, the ability to balance force with flexibility, to maintain order through constant change. The arterioles are, in this way, the quiet conductors of circulation, translating the power of the heart into the calm, steady flow that sustains all living tissue. Capillaries, the meeting point of exchange. As the blood's long journey continues, the wide, muscular vessels of the arteries and the narrow control gates of the arterioles give way to the most delicate pathways of all the capillaries. Here, at the smallest and most intimate scale of the circulatory system, the blood meets the body's living tissues directly. This is the quiet meeting point of exchange, where the purposes of circulation are fulfilled with gentle precision. The capillaries are not grand highways or branching rivers, but rather a vast network of minute channels, so small that a single red blood cell must bend and twist to pass through. They are the bridge between the vessels that carry blood from the heart and those that return it. Within their paper-thin walls, oxygen, nutrients, and waste products are traded in silence, sustaining every cell that depends on them. Capillaries are astonishingly small. Most measure less than 1/10 of a millimeter in diameter. Yet despite their tiny size, they are innumerable. The body contains billions of them, forming a web that extends through nearly every tissue. If all the capillaries in a single person were laid end to end, they would stretch for more than 25,000 miles, enough to encircle the earth. Each one serves a particular cluster of cells, ensuring that no part of the body lies far from the nourishment of blood. This dense distribution allows for the constant, even delivery of oxygen and nutrients, and for the gentle removal of carbon dioxide and waste. In their sheer number and closeness, capillaries create an unbroken connection between the flow of blood and the quiet metabolism of life. The structure of these vessels reflects their delicate purpose. A capillary wall consists of only a single layer of endothelial cells, thin and smooth, supported by a fragile membrane. There are no muscular walls, no thick layers of elastic tissue, only a transparent boundary through which exchange can occur. This simplicity is their strength. Because their walls are so thin, substances can pass easily between the blood and the surrounding tissues. Oxygen diffuses from areas of higher concentration in the blood to lower concentration in the tissue fluid. Carbon dioxide moves in the opposite direction, from the cells into the bloodstream. Nutrients such as glucose and amino acids follow similar gradients, while waste products drift gently into the returning blood. Each molecule follows its own path, guided not by force, but by the quiet laws of diffusion and balance. The arrangement of capillaries within tissues is carefully tailored to function. In muscles, they form dense networks that can expand or contract with activity, ensuring a constant delivery of oxygen during exertion. In the lungs, they are woven tightly around the air sacs, allowing gas exchange to occur across a distance thinner than a human hair. In the brain, the capillaries are more selective, forming part of the blood-brain barrier, a shield that permits essential nutrients, while protecting the delicate neural tissue from harm. In the liver and kidneys, the capillaries are wider and more porous, adapted for filtering and chemical processing. Though their form varies, their purpose remains constant: to facilitate the exchange that sustains the life of every cell. The flow of blood through capillaries is slower than in any other part of the circulation. This gentle pace is not a sign of weakness, but of precision. By the time the blood reaches these minute vessels, its pressure has fallen from the strong pulse of the arteries to a soft, steady stream. This allows time for the exchanges to occur. Red blood cells move in single file, brushing against the vessel walls, releasing oxygen as they go. Plasma seeps outward through the microscopic gaps between the endothelial cells, carrying nutrients to the tissue spaces. Some of this fluid later returns to the bloodstream, while the rest is collected by the lymphatic system and eventually rejoined to the circulation. In this way, the capillaries act not only as conduits for gas exchange, but also as regulators of fluid balance within the body. What happens within these vessels is constant and silent. Every cell in the body depends on it, though no conscious thought is given to the process. The oxygen that allows a muscle to move, the glucose that fuels the brain, the minerals that support the bones, all of these reach their destinations through the gentle mediation of the capillaries. Likewise, the waste products of metabolism, such as carbon dioxide and urea, find their way back to the blood through the same channels, to be carried away and expelled. The flow through each capillary bed may seem infinitesimal, yet multiplied across billions of vessels, it becomes the great internal tide that nourishes the body. The body controls the activity of capillary networks with exquisite care. Not every capillary is open at once. Doing so would drop blood pressure to unsustainable levels. Instead, small rings of smooth muscle called precapillary sphincters sit at the entrances to the capillaries, opening or closing according to need. When a tissue is active and requires more oxygen, these sphincters relax, allowing blood to flow freely through the capillary bed. When the demand is low, they constrict, reducing flow and conserving energy. This dynamic control ensures that circulation is always balanced, abundant where needed, modest where it is not. It is an elegant example of efficiency in nature. Nothing wasted, nothing excessive, everything quietly adjusted to maintain harmony. Within this balance lies another subtle process: the regulation of heat. Because the capillaries are so close to the surface of the skin, their activity helps govern body temperature. When the environment is warm, or when the body generates heat through movement, the capillaries in the skin dilate, allowing more blood to flow near the surface and release warmth into the air. In the cold, they constrict, preserving heat within the body's core. This automatic adjustment keeps the internal temperature remarkably stable, despite fluctuations in the world around us. The same network that nourishes the tissues also protects them, maintaining the narrow conditions necessary for life. To imagine the capillaries at work is to picture a vast, shimmering landscape beneath the skin, a living tapestry of movement so subtle it could be mistaken for stillness. In this microscopic world, red blood cells glide silently through translucent channels, drifting past cells that depend on their cargo. The scene unfolds in perfect order, guided by gradients of concentration and the unspoken coordination of countless molecules. Each capillary functions as both bridge and border, connecting the inner flow of blood to the outer tissues, and in doing so, uniting the body into a never-one single, integrated whole. Though their presence is hidden, the importance of the capillaries is profound. They are the point where the grand design of circulation meets the humble work of the cell. The heart may generate the force, and the arteries may carry the pressure, but the capillaries complete the purpose. Without them, the energy of the heartbeat would never reach the tissues it was meant to sustain. It is here that the oxygen released by the lungs becomes breath for the muscles, that the nutrients absorbed from food become strength, and that the body's wastes are quietly gathered for removal. Each heartbeat finds its fulfillment in these fragile vessels, where life's exchanges are made with the utmost gentleness. In their silence, the capillaries remind us that strength need not be loud or forceful. Theirs is a strength of subtlety, a power expressed through stillness and simplicity. Every moment, they carry out their quiet task, weaving the unseen connections that hold the body together. From the outermost layer of skin to the deepest organ, their presence is constant, their work tireless. They are the smallest of vessels, yet they perform the most vital of roles, ensuring that every part of the body receives what it needs and gives what it must. The capillaries are, in a sense, the breath between heartbeats, the place where movement pauses and transformation occurs. They embody the balance between giving and receiving, between motion and rest, between the individual cell and the body as a whole. Within their transparent walls, the great circulation of life finds its purpose, and in their quiet exchange, the harmony of the human body is renewed with every passing moment. 7. Veins. The return path. After the long and delicate exchanges that take place within the capillaries, the blood must begin its journey home. Having surrendered its oxygen and absorbed the byproducts of living cells, it now flows through the other half of the circulatory loop, the veins. If the arteries are the pathways of pressure, driving blood outward with energy and strength, the veins are the pathways of return, guiding it calmly and steadily back toward the heart. They are the soft rivers of the body, low in pressure but rich in purpose, carrying the used blood through vast networks of channels that mirror the arteries in reverse. In their quiet persistence, they complete the circle of life's movement, ensuring that the heart never beats in vain. The structure of veins reflects the gentler nature of the task they perform, because the force of the heartbeat is largely spent by the time the blood leaves the capillaries. Veins are not built to withstand high pressure. Their walls are thinner and more flexible than those of arteries, composed of the same 3 layers: an inner lining of smooth endothelium, a middle layer of thin muscle and elastic tissue, and an outer sheath of connective fibers, but in much smaller proportion. The reduced muscle and elastic content give veins a softness that allows them to expand easily. In this way, they act as reservoirs, capable of holding large volumes of blood. Indeed, at any given moment, nearly 2/3 of the body's total blood supply rests within the venous system, waiting to be guided back to the heart. The flow of blood through the veins depends less on pressure and more on gentle, coordinated assistance from the body's movements. As skeletal muscles contract during walking, stretching, or even breathing, they compress the nearby veins, pushing blood forward through the low-pressure system. This mechanism, often called the muscle pump, is particularly important in the limbs, where blood must travel upward against gravity. Each squeeze of the calf muscles, for example, propels blood a little higher through the veins of the leg, and each relaxation allows new blood to fill the space behind. It is a simple yet elegant system, perfectly designed for the rhythm of daily life. To ensure that the blood flows in only one direction, many veins, especially those in the limbs, contain valves. These are small, crescent-shaped folds of the inner lining that act like tiny gates, opening as blood is pushed forward and closing immediately afterward to prevent it from slipping backward. With each heartbeat and each movement, the valves work in harmony with muscle contractions to maintain an upward flow toward the heart. Without them, blood would pool in the lower extremities, leading to swelling and fatigue. When these valves weaken or fail, as sometimes happens with age or strain, The veins may become distended and visible beneath the skin, the familiar sign of varicose veins. Yet even then, the larger system continues to function, its overall rhythm maintained by countless other vessels sharing the load. The return of blood from the body follows a mirrored pattern of the arteries, though the pathways are often larger and more numerous. Small veins called venules gather the blood from the capillary beds, merging into larger and larger vessels as they progress. In the limbs and organs, these tributaries eventually unite to form the major veins. From the lower parts of the body, the blood ascends through the inferior vena cava, a great vessel that collects from the legs, pelvis, and abdomen. From the upper body, it returns through the superior vena cava, which gathers blood from the head, neck, arms, and chest. Both vessels empty into the right atrium of the heart, where the journey began, completing the great circuit of systemic circulation. The cycle continues without pause, a perfect pattern of outward flow and inward return. Though the movement of blood in veins is slower and more subdued than in arteries, it is no less vital. Within this quiet stream travels the record of cellular life, the carbon dioxide produced by metabolism, the waste molecules destined for removal, and the subtle chemical signals that coordinate the body's internal balance. In the liver, special veins carry nutrient-rich blood from the digestive tract through a unique detour known as the hepatic portal system, allowing the liver to process and store nutrients before the blood rejoins the main circulation. In the kidneys, venous blood carries away filtered waste, ensuring that the delicate balance of salts and fluids is preserved. Even within the brain, the venous sinuses gather used blood and direct it safely downward toward the heart. Everywhere in the body, the veins act as caretakers of return, collecting, cleansing, and balancing the flow of life. Despite the lack of high pressure, the veins are not passive conduits. Their walls contain smooth muscle fibers that contract gently to help propel blood, guided by signals from the autonomic nervous system. When the body needs to conserve heat or maintain blood pressure, the veins can constrict, pushing more blood toward the heart and raising the volume of circulation. When relaxation is needed, they expand, allowing blood to pool temporarily in the peripheral vessels. This ability to change capacity gives the venous system a stabilizing role, helping to regulate the body's overall pressure and ensuring that the heart receives a consistent supply of returning blood. It is a form of quiet governance, one that keeps the circulation balanced without ever demanding attention. There is also a deep connection between the veins and the act of breathing. With each inhalation, the pressure in the chest cavity decreases, drawing air into the lungs, but it also helps draw blood upward toward the heart. The large veins in the thorax respond to these subtle shifts in pressure, filling more readily when we breathe in and emptying as we breathe out. This respiratory pump works together with the muscle pump of the limbs to assist venous return, demonstrating once again how the body's systems cooperate seamlessly in their shared rhythm. Every breath, every step, every movement becomes part of the great cycle that keeps blood flowing home. If one were to visualize the veins at work, it would not be as a single stream, but as a complex network of rivers merging in quiet confluence. The color of the blood within them, often depicted as dark blue in illustrations, is not truly blue but a deep crimson, darkened by the absence of oxygen. Under the skin, the optical properties of light make these vessels appear bluish, a soft visual reminder of the pathways running just beneath the surface. In truth, the blood within the veins carries with it the very breath of the cells, awaiting renewal in the lungs. There is a certain poetic symmetry in the way veins complete the circulatory story. The arteries embody energy and force they push outward, bright with oxygen, pulsing with life's immediacy. The veins, by contrast, are the vessels of reflection, drawing back what has been used, carrying the quiet echoes of metabolic work. Together, they mirror the cycles found throughout nature, the ocean's tides that rise and retreat, the daily rhythm of inhalation and exhalation, the pulse of giving and receiving that defines all living systems. Each side of the circulation depends upon the other, forming not two separate systems but a single, continuous loop of motion and rest, action and return. In the stillness of rest, when the body lies quiet and the heart beats softly, the veins continue their patient work. They gather the darkened blood from the tissues and guide it upward, valve by valve, beat by beat, until it once again reaches the waiting chambers of the heart. There, it will be sent to the lungs to release its burden of carbon dioxide and draw in oxygen anew, beginning the cycle again. This endless exchange, so steady and dependable, speaks to the harmony within the body's design. The veins remind us that power need not always be expressed in strength or pressure. There is equal power and gentleness in the slow, steady return that sustains continuity. The veins perform their task not through force, but through cooperation, patience, and rhythm. They are the quiet carriers of completion, ensuring that the blood's story, like the rhythm of the heart itself, never ends. In their calm persistence, they reflect the deeper truth of life. That motion, whether outward or inward, is meaningful only when it returns to its source. 8. The pulmonary circuit, blood and breath. Each time we inhale, the body engages in a quiet partnership between two of its most essential systems, the respiratory and the circulatory. Their union forms one of the most elegant and continuous exchanges in nature, the meeting of air and blood. This interaction takes place within the pulmonary circuit, a loop of flow that carries blood from the heart to the lungs and back again. It is here that life's two invisible currents, breath and circulation, merge in perfect balance. The pulmonary circuit is not long in distance, yet it is vast in importance. It renews the blood with oxygen, clears it of carbon dioxide, and sustains the steady rhythm that keeps the body alive from moment to moment. The journey begins in the right ventricle of the heart, where blood has gathered after completing its passage through the body. This blood is dark and heavy with carbon dioxide, the waste product of cellular respiration. As the right ventricle contracts, it pushes the blood into the pulmonary artery, the only artery in the body that carries deoxygenated blood. From there, the vessel branches, dividing into right and left pathways that lead directly to the lungs. Within the chest, these arteries subdivide again and again, becoming smaller with each branching until they end as capillaries surrounding the alveoli, the tiny air sacs of the lungs. The alveoli are among the most delicate structures in the human body, yet within their fragile walls occurs one of life's most vital exchanges. Each lung contains hundreds of millions of alveoli, forming a surface area large enough to cover a tennis court. Around each air sac winds a network of pulmonary capillaries, so close that the barrier between air and blood is no thicker than a single cell layer. Through this impossibly thin membrane, gases diffuse with effortless precision. Oxygen, drawn in through each breath, moves from the air inside the alveolus into the blood, binding to hemoglobin molecules within red blood cells. At the same time, carbon dioxide produced by the body's countless metabolic reactions passes from the blood into the alveolus, ready to be expelled with the next exhalation. This quiet transaction, repeated millions of times each second, is what transforms the dark, oxygen-poor blood, leaving the heart into bright, oxygen-rich blood returning to it. The process requires no conscious effort. It happens automatically, guided by the laws of pressure and concentration. Where oxygen is plentiful, it moves into the blood. Where carbon dioxide accumulates, it moves outward toward the air. This balance sustains every cell in the body, ensuring that the blood which travels through the systemic circuit can carry out its vital work of nourishment and repair. After gas exchange, the newly oxygenated blood collects in small venules, which merge to form the pulmonary veins. the only veins in the body that carry oxygen-rich blood. These vessels travel back toward the heart, entering the left atrium. From there, the blood will move into the left ventricle and be sent out through the aorta to feed the body once more. The pulmonary and systemic circuits are thus intimately linked, two halves of a single cycle that never breaks. The heart stands at the center of this balance, propelling blood in opposite directions, one flow outward to nourish, the other inward to renew. Despite its proximity to the heart, the pulmonary circuit operates under different conditions than the systemic one. The pressures within its vessels are much lower. The right ventricle, though strong, does not need to generate the same force as the left, because the lungs lie close by and the pathway through them offers little resistance. This gentle pressure protects the fragile capillaries that line the alveoli, ensuring they are not damaged by the flow of blood. The lungs themselves are soft, spongy organs, and the blood moves through them in a calm rhythm that mirrors the pace of breathing. With each inhalation, the lungs expand, drawing air into their chambers. With each exhalation, they contract, expelling carbon dioxide and making room for the next breath. The blood flows in harmony with this rhythm, a silent synchrony between two systems that depend entirely upon one another. The lungs are not passive in this process. Their tissues respond continuously to the needs of the body, adjusting the rate and depth of breathing to match the demands of metabolism. When the level of carbon dioxide in the blood rises, receptors in the brainstem detect the change and signal the muscles of respiration to work harder. Breathing quickens, drawing in more oxygen and expelling more carbon dioxide. When the demand lessens, as in rest or sleep, breathing slows again, conserving energy. The pulmonary circulation adapts to these shifts without hesitation, altering blood flow to match the pattern of respiration. During deep inhalation, certain capillaries open that may have been closed at rest, expanding the area available for gas exchange. During exhalation, the flow adjusts again, ensuring that the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide remains within narrow limits. Within the lungs, gravity also plays a subtle role in shaping circulation. Because we stand upright, blood tends to flow more heavily toward the lower regions of the lungs, where pressure is slightly higher. The upper areas receive less blood, but remain essential for ventilation, the movement of air. The body naturally compensates for this uneven distribution, adjusting airflow and blood flow to maintain efficient exchange. This matching of air to blood is known as ventilation-perfusion coupling, and it is one of the many ways in which the pulmonary circuit maintains its quiet harmony. The connection between blood and breath extends beyond physiology. It carries with it a sense of rhythm that mirrors the larger patterns of existence, expansion, and contraction, giving and receiving, inhalation and exhalation. With every breath we take, blood is renewed. With every heartbeat, that renewal is shared throughout the body. The pulmonary circuit, in its simplicity, embodies the idea of balance through motion. It is a system of exchange where nothing is wasted and nothing is rushed. The design of the lungs enhances this efficiency. Each lung is divided into lobes, 3 on the right, 2 on the left, each containing its own network of bronchi, vessels, and alveoli. The pulmonary arteries and veins intertwine with the bronchial tree, ensuring that every air sac is closely paired with a capillary bed. This proximity allows for instantaneous exchange, a diffusion so efficient that the blood passing through the lungs can be fully oxygenated in less than a second. The red blood cells, once dark and laden with carbon dioxide, leave the lungs bright and buoyant, ready to deliver their oxygen to the tissues once again. This exchange also influences the chemistry of the blood in subtle ways. As carbon dioxide leaves the bloodstream, the pH of the blood shifts slightly, maintaining the precise chemical balance needed for the body's enzymes and reactions to function properly. The lungs, by controlling the rate of ventilation, play a crucial role in this process of regulation. Through their partnership with the kidneys, which handle longer-term adjustments, they keep the internal environment remarkably stable, even as external conditions change. To imagine the pulmonary circuit in motion is to picture a seamless interplay of air and blood, each movement timed to the other. The heart beats, sending blood upward toward the lungs. The diaphragm descends, drawing air into the chest. Within moments, oxygen and carbon dioxide trade places across the delicate alveolar walls. The blood, now refreshed, returns to the heart, ready to flow once more into the body. The entire process happens quietly, without effort or awareness, repeating itself roughly 20,000 times a day. There is a profound tranquility in this rhythm. The pulmonary circuit does not rush. It flows with the cadence of breath itself. Its purpose is not to exert power, but to maintain harmony, the steady renewal of the blood that allows every other function of the body to continue. In its design, one can sense nature's preference for balance, strength, tempered by gentleness, motion guided by stillness, exchange achieved through calm precision. Each breath we take, each beat of the heart, is a continuation of this gentle cycle. The blood that leaves the heart returns to it changed darker as it departs, brighter when it arrives again. The lungs, in turn, transform that blood with every inhalation, infusing it with the essence of the air around us. In this unending conversation between heart and lung, life finds its rhythm not hurried, not forced, but steady and serene, a pulse in harmony with the breath of the world itself. 9. Systemic circulation, feeding the body. From the left side of the heart, the pulse of life sets forth once more renewed, oxygen-rich, and full of potential. This journey is the grand circuit that sustains every cell, every organ, and every quiet process that unfolds within the human body. It is called the systemic circulation, and it is the vast and intricate network through which blood delivers its gifts of oxygen, nutrients, and warmth to all tissues. While the pulmonary circuit renews the blood, the systemic circuit distributes that renewal across the landscape of the body, reaching from the smallest cell in the fingertip to the deepest structures of the brain. It is here that the full purpose of circulation comes to life, transforming the rhythm of the heart into nourishment, motion, and balance. The journey begins in the left ventricle, the heart's most powerful chamber. When it contracts, a surge of pressure propels blood into the aorta, the largest and strongest artery in the human body. The aorta curves upward and then descends through the chest and abdomen, giving rise to countless branches that serve every region. From the arch of the aorta, 3 great arteries diverge, one leading to the right arm and side of the head, and 2 more curving toward the left arm and left side of the head and neck. These vessels soon divide further, forming a branching tree that reaches upward into the skull, outward through the shoulders, and downward into the torso and limbs. The pulse that begins at the aorta echoes through this entire structure, carried in waves that soften and spread as the arteries divide into smaller branches and eventually into arterioles. Each organ receives its own dedicated supply of blood, precisely matched to its needs. The brain, though small in weight, consumes nearly 1/5 of the body's total oxygen and is served by a complex web of arteries, the carotid and vertebral systems, that ensure constant flow even if one pathway is momentarily reduced. The heart itself is nourished by the coronary arteries, which branch directly from the aorta to circle the heart's surface, feeding the muscle that drives the entire system. The kidneys receive a generous portion of the cardiac output, their fine capillaries filtering the blood to regulate fluid balance and remove waste. The digestive organs are fed by the mesenteric arteries, which carry the nutrients absorbed from food to the liver for processing. The skin, muscles, bones, and all the other tissues receive their share through a network so complete that not a single cell lies more than a few micrometers away from a capillary. The flow of blood through these vessels is not random or equal. It is guided by a quiet intelligence, responding constantly to the body's shifting demands. During rest, blood moves generously through the abdominal organs, supporting digestion and repair. When the body becomes active, blood is redirected toward the muscles and skin. The arterioles act as regulators, opening in some areas and constricting in others to guide the flow where it is needed most. This fine balance ensures that even in moments of exertion, the essential organs, brain, heart, and kidneys, receive uninterrupted supply. The body achieves this redistribution without conscious effort, relying on the gentle coordination between nerves, hormones, and the vessels themselves. As the oxygen-rich blood flows through the arteries and arterioles, it reaches the capillaries, where the true work of life unfolds. Here, oxygen diffuses from the blood into the cells, fueling their metabolism. Nutrients carried from the digestive tract, glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals pass across the capillary walls to feed the tissues. In exchange, carbon dioxide and metabolic waste products drift into the bloodstream, beginning their return journey toward elimination. The plasma that carries these substances also bathes the surrounding cells in a thin film of fluid, ensuring that every cell remains nourished, hydrated, and in chemical balance. In the tissues, this constant exchange produces a kind of living equilibrium. Oxygen levels fall as the cells use it for energy, while carbon dioxide rises. The capillaries respond in subtle ways. The flow slows slightly, allowing diffusion to proceed more efficiently, and small local adjustments in vessel diameter ensure that no region is neglected. The blood leaving the capillaries is darker, its hemoglobin molecules now bound to carbon dioxide instead of oxygen. It gathers into venules, then into veins, beginning its quiet return toward the heart. This transition marks the midpoint of the systemic circuit, the moment when delivery becomes collection, and the outward journey turns inward once more. The systemic circulation does more than deliver oxygen and nutrients. It also carries countless messengers of the body's internal communication system. Hormones released by glands such as the thyroid, pancreas, and adrenal glands travel through the bloodstream to reach their distant targets, influencing metabolism, growth, and mood. Immune cells patrol the circulation, ready to leave the bloodstream at the first sign of infection or injury. Heat produced by the muscles and organs is distributed through the flowing blood, maintaining the body's temperature within the narrow range necessary for life. In all of these roles, the systemic circulation serves as a unifying force, linking every part of the body into one coordinated whole. Among the most remarkable aspects of this system is its efficiency. The same volume of blood, roughly 5 liters in an average adult, makes this complete journey through the body and back to the heart once every minute at rest, and even faster during activity. Yet despite this speed, the blood manages to perform countless exchanges along the way, each precisely timed and balanced. The energy required for this constant motion is generated by the heart, but the success of the system depends on the cooperation of the vessels and tissues it serves. Every part of the body participates in maintaining circulation. The muscles that aid venous return, the lungs that refresh the blood, the kidneys that regulate volume, and the brain that monitors pressure and flow. Within the systemic circuit, special adaptations ensure that blood reaches even the most remote or sensitive regions. In the brain, for example, the arrangement of arteries forms a ring known as the circle of Willis, which provides alternate routes for flow should one pathway become blocked. In the skin, small shunts open or close to regulate heat loss. In the liver, the portal circulation allows nutrient-rich blood from the intestines to be filtered and processed before it joins the general bloodstream. In the hands and feet, an intricate network of vessels ensures that circulation can adjust to changing temperatures, protecting the extremities from both heat and cold. Each of these adaptations reflects the same principle, that the systemic circulation must remain flexible, capable of adjusting moment by moment to preserve the whole. The relationship between the heart and the systemic circuit is one of elegant reciprocity. The left ventricle sends blood outward with strength and precision, but it also depends on the timely return of blood through the veins. This balance ensures that what is sent out is always matched by what comes back. The pressure in the arteries drives the flow forward, while the elasticity of the vessels cushions and maintains it between beats. In this way, the blood moves not in spurts, but in a smooth, continuous wave, like the tide that ebbs and flows, yet never ceases. To picture systemic circulation is to imagine a great, branching river that touches every landscape within the body. From the main current of the aorta, tributaries spread outward, dividing again and again until they reach the smallest capillaries streams, so fine they nourish single cells. Then, just as rivers merge again to return to the sea, the veins gather the blood, carrying it back to the heart to begin the cycle anew. It is a system of both immense scale and exquisite detail, operating in perfect rhythm with the heartbeat. Through this constant motion, the systemic circulation sustains the unity of the body. It delivers oxygen from the lungs, nutrients from the digestive system, and warmth from the metabolic fires of the organs, sharing them with every cell. It gathers the waste, products of life, and carries them away, preventing imbalance. It links the mind, the muscles, and the organs into one harmonious whole. All the while, it flows in silence, unbroken, unhurried, and profoundly reliable. In the still moments between breaths, when the heart beats softly and the world feels at rest, this great circulation continues beneath the surface, feeding, cleansing, and balancing. Every second of every day, the systemic circuit ensures that the body remains in motion, that energy becomes action, and that life continues with quiet grace. It is the unseen current that connects all parts of us, the gentle and ceaseless flow that turns the heartbeat into the sustaining rhythm of life itself. 10. Blood pressure and its harmony within. The endless motion of the circulatory system, there exists a quiet yet powerful rhythm. The rise and fall of blood pressure, it is the gentle force that propels blood through every artery, capillary, and vein, ensuring that oxygen and nutrients reach the body's farthest cells. Though often described in numbers and measurements, blood pressure is far more than a value on a scale. It is a living balance, the result of countless interactions between the heart, the vessels, and the tissues they serve. It changes moment by moment, responding to movement, thought, and emotion. Its constancy sustains life, and its harmony reflects the deep intelligence of the body's design. Blood pressure begins with the heart. Each time the left ventricle contracts, it sends a surge of blood into the aorta, stretching the walls of this great artery and all those that follow. This expansion creates a wave of pressure that travels along the arterial network, a pulse that can be felt beneath the skin. The peak of this wave, when the heart exerts its full force, is known as systolic pressure. As the heart relaxes and refills between beats, the pressure within the arteries falls to a lower level, the diastolic pressure. These two values together describe the rhythm of flow, the alternating phases of force and rest that carry blood smoothly through the body. In a healthy adult at rest, the systolic pressure averages around 120 millimeters of mercury, while the diastolic hovers near 80. But these numbers are not fixed. They rise and fall with the tempo of life itself. The maintenance of blood pressure depends on a delicate balance between the heart's output, the resistance of the vessels, and the volume of blood within the system. When the heart beats faster or with greater strength, pressure rises. When it slows or relaxes, pressure falls. The arteries, with their elastic walls, act as both conduits and cushions, stretching with each pulse and recoiling to maintain flow between beats. If they are too rigid, the pressure surges, If too relaxed, the flow falters. The total amount of blood circulating also influences this equilibrium. A loss of volume through dehydration or bleeding lowers pressure, while an excess raises it. Yet even with these constant fluctuations, the body preserves a remarkable steadiness through finely tuned systems of regulation. At the core of this regulation lies a network of sensors known as baroreceptors, tiny stretch-sensitive nerve endings located in the walls of the carotid arteries and the aorta. These receptors monitor the tension within the vessel walls, detecting even the smallest changes in pressure. When pressure rises, the baroreceptors send signals to the brainstem, which in turn slows the heart and relaxes the vessels, reducing force and restoring balance. When pressure falls, the opposite occurs. The heart quickens, and the vessels constrict to bring it back up. This feedback loop operates with exquisite speed, adjusting the circulation moment by moment, even during something as simple as standing up from rest or taking a deep breath. Without it, blood pressure would fluctuate wildly, and the stability upon which every organ depends would be lost. The kidneys, too, play an essential role in maintaining harmony. They regulate the long-term balance of fluid and salt within the body, influencing the volume of blood circulating through the vessels. When blood pressure drops for an extended period, the kidneys release hormones such as renin, which set in motion a cascade of changes, constricting vessels, retaining sodium and water, and restoring volume. When pressure is consistently high, the kidneys respond by excreting more water and salt, easing the strain on the vessels. This process is gradual, unfolding over hours or days, complementing the rapid adjustments made by the baroreceptors. Together, they form a dual system of balance, one immediate, the other enduring, both working to preserve the quiet rhythm of flow. The vessels themselves contribute to this harmony through their ability to expand and contract. The smooth muscle in their walls responds to signals from the nervous system and to local chemical cues from the tissues. When a region of the body becomes active and requires more oxygen, the small arteries and arterioles supplying it dilate, increasing flow even if overall blood pressure remains constant. When the body cools, or when it must conserve blood for vital organs, these same vessels constrict. Through this constant dance of dilation and constriction, the distribution of blood shifts in response to the body's needs, while the overall pressure remains in equilibrium. Emotions and the mind also leave their mark upon this rhythm. A moment of fear or excitement triggers the release of adrenaline, which quickens the heart and tightens the vessels, raising pressure to prepare the body for action. As calm returns, the parasympathetic nervous system takes over, slowing the heartbeat and relaxing the vessels once again. Even simple breathing influences pressure. During inhalation, the expansion of the chest lowers pressure in the thoracic cavity, drawing blood toward the heart. During exhalation, the slight compression aids its movement back out through the arteries. These fluctuations, though subtle, remind us that blood pressure is not a static state but a living, breathing pulse, always changing, always responsive. For most of us, the variations in blood pressure pass unnoticed, hidden beneath the constancy of the heartbeat. Yet this continuous adjustment is what allows the body to adapt so seamlessly to every circumstance. When we lie down, stand, or climb a hill, when we speak, dream, or sleep, the heart and vessels shift their behavior in quiet coordination. The brain, ever vigilant, ensures that its own supply of oxygen is never interrupted, adjusting the tone of the vessels that feed it. The muscles, in turn, receive more flow during movement and less during rest. Even within individual organs, tiny vessels act as local regulators, maintaining the right level of perfusion for their specific tasks. Through this intricate interplay, the entire body maintains harmony despite the constant changes within and around it. Over the course of a lifetime, this balance evolves, In youth, the arteries are supple and responsive, absorbing the heart's pressure with ease. As the years pass, their elasticity may gradually lessen, causing the pulse to travel more sharply and the pressure to rise. The heart compensates, the kidneys adjust, and the body continues to adapt, preserving equilibrium through gentle modification. The rhythm may change, but the harmony endures. Even in the smallest variations of pressure, the faint rise that accompanies a thought, the subtle fall that comes with rest, one can sense the body's continual dialogue between action and stillness. To think of blood pressure only in terms of numbers is to miss its deeper meaning. It is not simply a measure of force, but a reflection of balance, of energy distributed evenly throughout the body's quiet architecture. Too much force can wear upon the delicate vessels, too little, and the tissues grow starved. Between these extremes lies the narrow path of harmony, maintained by the patient wisdom of the body itself. The heart provides the pulse, the arteries guide it, and the vessels return it in a steady rhythm of exchange. If one were to listen closely to this internal harmony, it might sound like the soft murmur of waves rising with each heartbeat, falling as the heart rests. Within that rhythm lies the measure of life's persistence. Blood pressure is the gentle whisper of motion that never ceases. The balance between giving and receiving, between strength and gentleness. Every beat of the heart sends a message of continuity, carried in the pressure that moves the blood. It is not a force to be conquered or a number to be feared, but a living sign of the body's constant conversation with itself. In the stillness of night, as breathing slows and the heart softens its pace, the blood continues its calm journey through the vessels, each pulse smaller yet still sure. The pressure falls slightly, allowing rest and recovery, while the body repairs and renews itself. When morning comes, the rhythm quickens again, meeting the demands of wakefulness with ease. Through every cycle of activity and rest, the harmony of blood pressure sustains the unbroken flow of life. It is the quiet background to all existence, unseen, unfelt, yet ever present, maintaining the perfect equilibrium between movement and peace. 11. Microcirculation and lymphatic support. Beyond the great arteries and veins, beyond even the delicate capillaries, where blood and tissues meet, lies an invisible realm of extraordinary subtlety, the world of microcirculation. It is here, within the finest networks of vessels, that the final exchanges of life occur. The term microcirculation describes the flow of blood through the smallest vessels of the body, the arterioles, capillaries, and venules, as well as the spaces between the cells that they serve. This is the true interface between circulation and life itself. Every cell, no matter how small or distant, relies on this microscopic system to deliver oxygen, remove waste, and maintain balance. Within this quiet domain, blood and tissue are not separate. They exist in gentle communication, their borders almost dissolving in the constant exchange of molecules and energy. To picture the microcirculation is to imagine a vast landscape of branching pathways, each finer than the last, extending outward like the roots of a great tree. The journey begins as blood leaves the smallest arterioles and enters the web of capillaries. Here, the flow slows almost to stillness. The walls of the capillaries, made of a single layer of endothelial cells, are so thin that oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, and wastes pass freely across them. Around these tiny vessels lies the interstitial fluid, a clear, watery medium that bathes every cell in the body. This fluid acts as a buffer, allowing substances to diffuse between blood and cells smoothly and safely. The exchange that occurs in this space is the true essence of circulation, for it is here that the blood's purpose to sustain life is fully realized. As the red blood cells move through the narrow passages, they bend and flex, releasing oxygen to the tissues in exchange for carbon dioxide, glucose, amino acids, and electrolytes drift outward from the plasma to feed the cells, while the products of metabolism move inward to be carried away. The direction and rate of this movement are determined by two opposing forces: hydrostatic pressure and osmotic pressure. The first pushes fluid outward from the capillaries into the tissue spaces. The second, generated by proteins in the blood plasma, draws fluid back in. Together, they maintain a delicate equilibrium, ensuring that the tissues remain moist and nourished without becoming swollen or dehydrated. However, this balance is not perfect. A small amount of fluid always escapes from the capillaries into the surrounding tissue, carrying with it proteins and other molecules that cannot easily return. Without a means of removal, this excess fluid would accumulate, causing swelling and disrupting the chemistry of the tissues. Nature, in its quiet wisdom, has provided a second circulatory network to prevent this: the lymphatic system. The lymphatic vessels begin as tiny, blind-ended capillaries scattered among the body's tissues. They are even thinner and more delicate than blood capillaries, with walls that open slightly to allow fluid, proteins, and small particles to enter. This fluid, once inside, becomes lymph, a clear, colorless liquid that mirrors the plasma from which it came. The lymphatic capillaries merge into larger vessels that weave alongside veins and arteries, eventually converging into major trunks that return their contents to the bloodstream. Along their course, they pass through small, bean-shaped structures known as lymph nodes. These nodes serve as stations of filtration and defense, removing debris, bacteria, and damaged cells before the lymph is allowed to rejoin the blood. Within the nodes, clusters of immune cells quietly patrol, ready to respond to any foreign presence. Thus, the lymphatic system not only maintains fluid balance, but also guards the body's internal environment with constant vigilance. The movement of lymph is gentle and continuous, powered not by a central pump like the heart, but by the rhythmic contractions of the vessel walls and by the motion of nearby muscles. Every step, every breath, every shift in posture helps to propel lymph upward through the vessels. Like veins, lymphatic vessels contain valves that prevent backflow, ensuring that the fluid moves steadily toward the great collecting ducts near the heart. There, the lymph merges with the venous blood, returning its reclaimed proteins and fluid to the circulation. In this way, the lymphatic system completes the loop begun by the blood, restoring balance to the spaces between the cells and preserving the harmony of the internal environment. In the stillness of the body, the microcirculation and lymphatic systems are never truly still. They move at a scale too small to be seen, yet their activity is constant and essential. The microcirculation supplies, nourishes, and cleanses. The lymphatic system collects, defends, and restores. Together, they form the quiet undercurrent that sustains every living cell. Without them, the larger vessels and the heart itself would have no purpose. For the work of life is not performed in the heart's chambers or the arteries' walls, but in the invisible exchanges between blood and cell. The efficiency of this microscopic system is extraordinary. The flow of blood through a capillary bed can adjust within seconds to match the needs of the tissue it serves. When a muscle begins to contract, for example, the demand for oxygen increases sharply. The arterioles feeding that muscle dilate, and the number of open capillaries multiplies. Blood flow rises, oxygen delivery increases, and carbon dioxide is carried away more quickly. When activity ceases, the process reverses, conserving energy and maintaining equilibrium. Even the brain, with its delicate balance of oxygen and glucose requirements, relies on this same mechanism of local control. In every part of the body, from the skin to the internal organs, the microcirculation responds instinctively to the rhythm of life. Beyond the transport of gases and nutrients, the microcirculation also plays a vital role in maintaining temperature. When the body becomes warm, the capillaries near the surface of the skin open wide, allowing heat to escape. In cold conditions, they constrict, preserving warmth within the deeper tissues. These changes occur automatically, guided by the nervous system and by local chemical signals. The result is a remarkable constancy of internal temperature, achieved through millions of tiny adjustments occurring simultaneously in the smallest vessels of the body. The microcirculatory system also carries messages, chemical signals that travel not through nerves, but through the very flow of blood and lymph. Hormones, immune mediators, and growth factors drift through the plasma and the interstitial fluid, influencing distant cells in subtle ways. A signal released in one part of the body may trigger a response in another, linking all organs into a single, coordinated whole. In this way, the microcirculation is not only a pathway for nutrients, but also a medium of communication, a silent language spoken in molecules and motion. Over time, the health of the microcirculation reflects the health of the body itself. When the small vessels remain open and responsive, tissues receive what they need and recover quickly from strain. When they become narrowed or sluggish, the effects ripple outward, affecting organs and systems far from the source. Yet the body possesses a remarkable capacity for renewal. Through gentle movement, steady breathing, and the natural rhythms of rest and activity, the flow through the microcirculation and lymphatic systems remains smooth, quietly cleansing and replenishing every part of the self. To imagine the microcirculation is to envision a still and luminous landscape beneath the surface of the skin, a world where rivers of red cells glide in silence through crystalline channels, and where fluid drifts in and out like mist. It is a realm of constant motion without noise, of change without disturbance. Every exchange that takes place there is an act of quiet generosity. Oxygen given, carbon dioxide accepted, nutrients shared, waste removed. The lymphatic vessels move in slow companionship, gathering what is left behind, keeping the tissues clear and balanced. This hidden system reminds us that the most vital processes of life occur in silence. The microcirculation and lymphatic flow do not announce their work, yet they sustain every heartbeat, every breath, every moment of existence. Their movements are so gentle, so continuous, that they might be compared to the unseen currents beneath a calm sea, invisible on the surface, but essential to the ocean's life below. In their ceaseless exchange, they preserve the harmony of the body, maintaining balance with every pulse and breath. And so, within the vastness of the circulatory system, it is the smallest vessels that reveal the greatest wisdom. They teach that strength lies not in power, but in balance, not in force, but in quiet cooperation. Through their steady flow and their partnership with the lymphatic network, they sustain the equilibrium upon which life depends. In the end, the microcirculation is not merely a part of the body's anatomy. It is the living expression of connection itself, the gentle reminder that within every small movement lies the rhythm of the whole. 12. Special circulatory routes. Although the human circulatory system follows one grand and continuous pattern, certain regions of the body possess unique adaptations, special routes, and arrangements of blood flow designed to meet particular needs. These specialized circulations reveal the body's quiet ingenuity, its ability to shape the same basic system to serve vastly different purposes. They are not exceptions to the pattern but refinements of it, each tailored to the organ it sustains. Within these distinct pathways lie stories of nourishment, protection, and endurance, all working together to keep the body in harmony. Among the most vital of these special circulations is the coronary circulation, the network of vessels that supplies the heart itself. The heart, though it pumps blood to every tissue, cannot draw nourishment directly from the blood within its chambers. Its muscular walls are too thick, and the oxygen it sends outward cannot diffuse inward fast enough to meet its own needs. Instead, the heart is fed by a pair of small but powerful arteries that branch from the base of the aorta, the right and left coronary arteries. From these vessels spread an intricate web of smaller branches that penetrate the heart muscle, delivering oxygen and nutrients to every fiber. During each heartbeat, the flow through these vessels rises and falls in rhythm with the contraction of the heart. When the ventricles squeeze, pressure within the muscle compresses the arteries. When they relax, the flow resumes, flooding the tissue with freshly oxygenated blood. This alternating rhythm of supply mirrors the pulse itself, a constant reminder that even the source of circulation depends upon circulation in return. The blood that nourishes the heart returns through the coronary veins, which converge into a single channel known as the coronary sinus. This vessel empties into the right atrium, completing the circuit that serves the heart's own needs. The coronary circulation is small in scale compared to the systemic network, yet its importance cannot be overstated. A brief interruption in its flow, even a few moments, can weaken the muscle and disrupt the heartbeat. To protect against this, the coronary arteries form subtle connections called anastomoses, which allow blood to reroute itself if one path becomes blocked. These natural detours demonstrate the body's foresight, a quiet assurance that even its most vital organ has built-in resilience. From the heart, the story of special circulations extends to the brain, where another remarkable network preserves balance and constancy. The brain's circulation must remain uninterrupted, for even short pauses in its blood supply can lead to loss of consciousness or damage. To prevent this, nature has designed a circular arrangement of arteries at the base of the brain, known as the circle of Willis. This structure connects the major arteries that feed the brain, the internal carotids and the vertebral arteries, creating a ring of redundancy. If one vessel narrows or becomes blocked, others can compensate, maintaining steady flow. Within the brain itself, countless tiny arteries branch from this circle, reaching every region with precision. The brain's vessels are also uniquely selective. Their walls form the blood-brain barrier, a protective boundary that allows essential substances such as oxygen and glucose to pass while keeping toxins and pathogens out. This delicate filtration maintains the brain's stable environment, shielding its neurons from harm while sustaining their immense energy demands. While the heart and brain require constancy, the liver serves as the body's processing center, and its circulation reflects this specialized role. The hepatic portal system is unlike any other in the body. Most organs receive blood directly from an artery and return it to the veins, but the liver's supply follows a dual route. Blood rich in nutrients but low in oxygen flows from the digestive organs, the stomach, intestines, spleen, and pancreas, into a large vessel called the portal vein. This vein carries its load of absorbed nutrients, toxins, and byproducts directly to the liver. There, the blood passes through a maze of small channels called sinusoids, where it slows to allow interaction with liver cells. These cells, or hepatocytes, process the incoming materials, storing glucose as glycogen, detoxifying harmful substances, and producing important proteins. Once the work is done, the blood collects into hepatic veins, which empty into the inferior vena cava and return to the heart. This circuit ensures that every molecule absorbed from food is examined, altered, or stored before it reaches the wider circulation. It is a system of quiet oversight, a kind of internal customs checkpoint, maintaining purity and balance within the blood. Another specialized circulation can be found in the kidneys, where the blood undergoes filtration and refinement. The renal circulation is both precise and efficient, designed to process vast volumes of blood with minimal energy. Each kidney receives blood through a renal artery, which branches into smaller arterioles leading to microscopic filtering units known as nephrons. Within each nephron lies a cluster of capillaries called the glomerulus, where pressure forces fluid and dissolved substances out of the blood and into the surrounding capsule. This process separates waste from useful materials, beginning the formation of urine. The filtered fluid then passes through tiny tubules where water, salts, and nutrients are selectively reabsorbed, while the remaining waste continues on its way to be excreted. Meanwhile, the filtered blood flows through another network of capillaries, the peritubular capillaries, where exchange continues. The renal veins then carry the purified blood back to the heart. This dual arrangement of capillary networks within each nephron makes the kidneys one of the most finely tuned organs in the circulatory system, maintaining the delicate chemical composition of the blood with unwavering precision. Farther below, in the abdomen and legs, another specialized arrangement known as the portal circulation of the spleen plays its quiet role. The spleen filters blood directly, removing old or damaged red blood cells and recycling their components. It also acts as a reservoir, storing a supply of blood that can be released during sudden physical demand or loss. The splenic circulation, slow and deliberate, passes blood through a labyrinth of narrow spaces lined with immune cells, ready to detect and respond to any foreign material. Through this combination of filtration and storage, the spleen supports both the immune system and the circulatory balance. The skin, too, possesses a special pattern of circulation adapted for temperature regulation. In addition to its network of capillaries that nourish the tissue, the skin contains arteriovenous anastomoses, small, direct connections between arteries and veins. These shunts allow blood to bypass the capillary beds entirely when heat needs to be conserved, such as in cold environments. When warmth must be released, the shunts close, directing blood through the surface capillaries where heat can dissipate into the air. This subtle mechanism operates continuously, balancing internal temperature with the changing conditions of the world outside. The skin's blood flow can increase tenfold when the body overheats, or decrease drastically in cold, a quiet demonstration of the circulatory system's adaptability. Even in early life, before birth, the body employs special circulatory routes to sustain growth. The fetal circulation includes temporary structures that direct oxygen-rich blood from the placenta, the source of nourishment and gas exchange, around the yet-to-functioning lungs and liver. Vessels such as the ductus venosus, foramen ovale, and ductus arteriosus allow the developing fetus to thrive in a protected environment. At birth, when the first breath fills the lungs and the umbilical cord is cut, these pathways close naturally, transforming the fetal system into the independent circulation of a newborn. It is one of nature's most seamless transitions, a quiet moment when the heart's rhythm becomes truly one's own. Each of these specialized circulations, coronary, cerebral, hepatic, renal, splenic, cutaneous, and fetal, serves a purpose suited to its environment. They are variations on a single theme, the body's continual search for equilibrium through adaptation. Together, they demonstrate that circulation is not a simple loop, but a living network of pathways, each shaped by the needs of the tissue it serves. To reflect upon these hidden routes is to appreciate the quiet complexity within the body's design. Beneath the skin, beneath the steady pulse of the arteries, lies a collection of distinct worlds, the heart nourishing itself, the brain shielded, supplied, the liver filtering, the kidneys cleansing, the skin balancing warmth, and the unborn child sustained by its mother's blood. Each world moves in its own rhythm, yet all are bound by the same steady heartbeat. In these countless circulatory variations, the harmony of life reveals itself again and again. Every special route is a testament to adaptation, to the body's capacity to meet every challenge with grace and efficiency. Through them, the heart's pulse becomes more than motion. It becomes communication, a message carried through endless pathways, ensuring that all parts of the body remain connected in the quiet, flowing unity of life. 13. The role of blood vessel walls. All throughout the human body, from the great arteries that rise from the heart to the smallest capillaries that thread between the cells, The walls of blood vessels form a living architecture of extraordinary precision. Though they appear merely structural, their role extends far beyond containment. They are active, responsive tissues that sense the needs of the body and adapt to them in real time. Within these pliant walls, the forces of pressure and flow are balanced by strength and flexibility, ensuring that circulation remains both continuous and gentle. The vessel walls are not passive barriers. They are dynamic participants in the rhythm of life, regulating tone, guiding blood flow, and protecting the delicate balance upon which every cell depends. At the simplest level, every blood vessel wall consists of three layers: the tunica intima, the tunica media, and the tunica externa. These layers, though microscopic, represent one of nature's most refined designs. The innermost, the tunica intima, is a smooth lining of endothelial cells that comes into direct contact with the flowing blood. These cells form a surface so seamless that blood moves past them with almost no friction. Yet the endothelium is more than a lining. It is an intelligent interface between the blood and the vessel itself. It senses the flow, detects changes in pressure, and responds by releasing chemical signals that tell the surrounding muscle when to tighten or relax. Through the endothelium's guidance, the vessels maintain their tone, prevent clotting, and regulate the passage of materials in and out of the bloodstream. The middle layer, the tunica media, provides the vessel's strength and flexibility. Composed of smooth muscle fibers and elastic tissue, it allows the vessel to expand and contract with every pulse. In arteries, this layer is particularly thick, giving them the resilience to withstand the pressure of blood ejected from the heart. Each heartbeat sends a wave that stretches the arterial walls outward, and their elastic recoil helps push the blood forward even as the heart relaxes. This elasticity softens the pulse, transforming the heart's forceful contractions into a steady, continuous flow. In smaller vessels like arterioles, the smooth muscle of the tunica media becomes the main instrument of regulation. By tightening or loosening, it changes the vessel's diameter, adjusting resistance and controlling the amount of blood reaching the tissues. The outermost layer, the tunica externa, or adventitia, is made of connective tissue that anchors the vessel within its surroundings. It provides support and protection, connecting the vessel to nerves, lymphatics, and small blood vessels known as the vasa vasorum, literally, the vessels of the vessels. These tiny channels supply the outer layers of large arteries and veins with nutrients and oxygen, since diffusion from the blood inside is not enough to nourish them. The tunica externa also contains nerve fibers that allow the nervous system to influence the vessel's tone. In this way, every blood vessel becomes part of a larger network of communication, responding to both local and systemic signals. Within this tri-layered structure lies a balance between rigidity and adaptability. If the walls were too stiff, the pulse of the heart would strike them with destructive force, damaging the delicate tissues beyond. If they were too soft, they would collapse under the weight of surrounding pressure, and blood could not flow freely. The vessel walls maintain their integrity through an ever-shifting equilibrium. They expand with warmth and activity, contract with cold or rest, strengthen with training, and weaken with disuse. Like all living tissues, they are shaped by the patterns of life that move through them. The endothelial cells that line every vessel perform countless subtle tasks to maintain this harmony. They release nitric oxide, a gas that diffuses into the smooth muscle, causing it to relax and widen the vessel. This process, known as vasodilation, reduces resistance and allows more blood to flow. At other times, when pressure must be preserved or heat conserved, the endothelium releases substances that cause contraction, narrowing the vessel and increasing resistance. These moment-to-moment adjustments occur silently and continuously, ensuring that blood pressure remains stable and that every organ receives the right amount of flow. The endothelium also plays a key role in preventing unwanted clotting. It produces chemicals that discourage platelets from adhering and forming clots, unless the vessel is damaged. When injury does occur, however, the same cells shift their behavior, releasing factors that help blood coagulate and seal the breach. Thus, within the span of a heartbeat, the vessel wall can transform from a surface of flow to a surface of repair. In veins, the composition of the vessel wall reflects a different set of demands. Because the pressure within veins is lower, their walls are thinner and less muscular than those of arteries. Yet they are more flexible, allowing them to expand easily and accommodate large volumes of blood. The smooth lining of the endothelium in veins also contains valves, delicate folds of tissue, that prevent backflow and keep the blood moving steadily toward the heart. These valves, working with the contraction of nearby muscles, transform the veins into active participants in the return of blood, rather than passive tubes. The strength of the venous walls lies not in pressure, but in cooperation, a harmony between muscle, valve, and vessel that ensures the quiet completion of the circulatory loop. Capillary walls, by contrast, are the simplest of all, composed of a single layer of endothelial cells resting on a thin basement membrane. This minimal design allows for the free exchange of gases and nutrients between blood and tissue. Yet even here, the cells show remarkable sensitivity. They can widen the tiny gaps between them to allow larger molecules to pass when needed, or tighten them to protect delicate tissues like the brain. In some organs, such as the liver and spleen, the capillary walls are intentionally more porous, permitting the passage of proteins and cells. In others, like the brain's capillaries, they form tight junctions that create the protective barrier essential to neural stability. Everywhere in the body, the vessel walls are adapted precisely to the nature of the tissue they serve. The health of the blood vessel walls is deeply connected to the health of the body as a whole. When they are strong and elastic, circulation remains smooth, pressure stable, and tissues well nourished. When they lose their flexibility through aging, stress, or disease, the flow becomes more turbulent, and the delicate harmony of pressure and resistance begins to shift. The endothelium, when damaged, may become less responsive, allowing inflammation to take root or clots to form more easily. Yet the body is resilient, and the vessel walls are capable of repair. Through rest, balanced movement, and steady flow, they renew themselves continuously, maintaining the silent strength that supports every heartbeat. The vessel walls also serve as a bridge between the circulatory system and the rest of the body's physiology. They respond to hormones such as adrenaline, which tightens the vessels in moments of stress, and to local chemical messengers like histamine, which widens them during inflammation or heat. They react to physical forces as well. The stretch caused by blood pressure, the shear stress created by flowing plasma. These mechanical signals are translated into biological responses, influencing growth, tone, and even the structure of the vessel over time. In this way, the walls of the vessels do not simply endure the passage of blood. They learn from it. They adapt to the patterns of flow, thickening where pressure is high, branching where new growth is needed, remodeling themselves in quiet response to the body's shifting needs. To imagine the inner life of the vessel walls is to envision a landscape of endless activity beneath the calm surface of the skin. Within every artery, millions of cells are sensing, signaling, and adjusting. Within every vein, silent valves open and close in rhythm with the muscle's motion. Within every capillary, microscopic gates open to release oxygen and close to retain balance. The vessel walls are alive with movement too subtle to feel, yet without them, circulation would lose its grace. They represent the perfect compromise between permanence and change, strong enough to endure the heartbeat's pressure, yet soft enough to yield to its rhythm. They embody the principle that structure and function are not separate, but intertwined, that stability depends upon flexibility. The blood vessel walls, in their quiet resilience, show how life sustains itself, not through rigidity, but through adaptability, through a constant conversation between form and flow. And as the blood passes endlessly through them, they stand as both guardians and guides, shaping the invisible currents of life that move within us all. 14. Aging and adaptation of the vessels. Throughout the course of a lifetime, the circulatory system endures the full measure of time's passage. From the first pulse of a newborn's heart to the steady rhythm of old age, the vessels that carry life's current remain in constant motion. They bend, expand, contract, and repair, adapting to every change the body experiences. Yet, like the slow weathering of stone by wind and rain, time leaves its mark even on these resilient pathways. The blood vessels, though remarkably self-sustaining, are not immune to aging. Their walls, once supple and elastic, gradually stiffen, their responses to signals soften, and their flow patterns shift. Still, within these changes lies not merely decline, but adaptation, the body's quiet rebalancing of strength and flexibility as it adjusts to the rhythm of a longer life. In youth, the circulatory system functions with effortless grace. The arteries are elastic, their walls rich in collagen and elastin fibers that allow them to stretch with every heartbeat and recoil just as easily. The heart pumps with vigor, the capillaries open freely, and the veins return blood without strain. The endothelium, the delicate lining of every vessel, is smooth and active, releasing precise chemical signals that keep the blood flowing evenly. This youthful harmony allows the circulation to adapt instantly to every shift in movement, temperature, and emotion. When we run, the vessels widen to deliver more oxygen. When we rest, they narrow to conserve energy. The balance of pressure and flow is constant and serene. With time, however, subtle changes begin to accumulate. The once flexible arteries slowly lose some of their elasticity, a process known as vascular stiffening. The elastic fibers in the tunica media, the middle layer of the vessel wall, become fragmented, replaced gradually by collagen, which is stronger but less pliant. The vessel's ability to expand and recoil with each pulse diminishes, and the force of the heartbeat travels more sharply along the arterial walls. This change raises systolic pressure, the peak of the heartbeat, while the resting diastolic pressure may fall slightly. The result is a wider pulse pressure, a natural hallmark of age. Though this shift can increase the heart's workload, the body compensates in numerous quiet ways, adjusting its rhythm and tone to preserve equilibrium. The endothelium, too, evolves with the years. Its cells may respond more slowly to the signals that regulate vessel dilation and constriction. The production of nitric oxide, the molecule that helps relax smooth muscle and maintain vessel flexibility, gradually decreases. As a result, blood vessels may not widen as readily in response to demand, and circulation can become less responsive to rapid changes in activity. Yet the body finds new balance, even here. Over time, collateral vessels, small side channels, may expand and strengthen, forming alternate pathways to ensure that tissues continue to receive adequate flow. This quiet remodeling is one of the circulatory system's greatest strengths, its ability to adapt not through resistance, but through gentle accommodation. Within the veins, the changes of age take on a different form. The walls may lose some of their tone, and the valves that prevent backflow can weaken. This can lead to mild pooling of blood in the lower limbs, especially during long periods of standing or inactivity. The result may be a sense of heaviness or visible varicose veins. Yet even here, the body's design offers support. The rhythmic contractions of muscles during movement help propel the blood upward, and the gentle pressure changes of breathing continue to assist venous return. In older age, Motion becomes more than exercise. It becomes the quiet pulse of assistance that helps the circulation remain strong and balanced. Capillaries, the smallest of the vessels, also reflect the passage of time. Their walls may thicken slightly, and the spaces between their cells may narrow, affecting the efficiency of exchange between blood and tissue. However, this change is often offset by the body's tendency to form new small vessels in response to local needs, a process known as angiogenesis. The result is a slow but steady renewal of pathways, ensuring that even as some capillaries become less efficient, others arise to take their place. The microcirculation, though delicate, remains a living system of adaptation, renewing itself through necessity rather than instruction. The aging heart itself mirrors these changes. Its walls may thicken slightly as it works against the increasing stiffness of the arteries. The number of pacemaker cells in the sinoatrial node may decrease, subtly slowing the resting heart rate. Yet the strength of contraction often remains preserved, and the heart continues to respond faithfully to the body's needs. Each beat still sends life through the arteries. Each rest still allows recovery. In this way, the heart and vessels age together, not in isolation, but in mutual adjustment, like an orchestra whose tempo slows with time but whose harmony endures. External factors, too, influence how gracefully the vessels age. Nutrition, movement, and emotional balance all play quiet roles in shaping the rhythm of circulation. A body that moves regularly keeps its vessels elastic, as the alternating pressures of motion encourage flexibility. Gentle exercise stimulates the release of nitric oxide and promotes the formation of new capillaries, preserving responsiveness. A diet rich in natural antioxidants and essential nutrients helps maintain the integrity of the endothelial lining, protecting it from gradual wear. Even calmness of mind, through its influence on the nervous and hormonal systems, supports steady blood pressure and reduces strain upon the arteries. Thus, the care of the vessels is not separate from the care of the self. It is a reflection of one's daily patterns of rest, nourishment, and peace. With advancing age, the balance between repair and wear becomes more delicate. The vessel walls, once quick to regenerate, may heal more slowly from injury. Inflammation, which once subsided swiftly, may linger. Yet even these changes serve a quiet purpose, reminding the body to move more gently, to conserve energy, to rely on patience rather than speed. The circulation in older age becomes less about performance and more about preservation, a slower, steadier rhythm that favors endurance over intensity. The blood flows more calmly, the pressure waves more measured, and the heart beats with a seasoned steadiness learned through years of constancy. Despite the physical changes, the aging circulatory system remains profoundly capable. The vessels continue to deliver oxygen, to balance fluids, to sustain temperature, and to carry messages between organs. Their adaptability allows life to persist in remarkable ways, even when challenged by time. The elasticity that is lost in one place is compensated by new pathways in another. The heart that beats a little slower does so with greater efficiency. The blood that moves a little more gently still carries with it the same essence of vitality. There is beauty in this slower rhythm, a kind of wisdom written into the flow itself. In the quiet unfolding of years, the vessels become records of experience. Each heartbeat that has passed through them has shaped their walls. Each moment of activity or rest has left its subtle imprint. Yet they continue their work without complaint, faithful to their purpose. Their gradual adaptation is not a failure of youth, but a refinement of endurance, a transition from vigor to resilience. The circulation in later life becomes a mirror of the person it sustains, slower perhaps, but no less profound, steady and enduring, holding within it the memory of all the rhythms that came before. To reflect upon the aging of the vessels is to recognize that life itself is an act of adaptation. The heart does not resist the passage of time. It adjusts its beat. The arteries do not defy stiffness. They find new ways to maintain flow. The veins do not lament their burden. They yield and recover. Each part of the circulatory system learns, in its own quiet way, to move with the rhythm of age. In this lies a lesson both physiological and philosophical, that strength is not in rigidity, but in flexibility, not in unchanging force, but in graceful adjustment. The vessels, ever responsive, teach the body and the mind that inhabits it the art of continuity through change. Thus, even as the pulse softens and the flow becomes gentler, the circulation remains steadfast. It carries with it the calm wisdom of time, the endurance of structure, and the quiet beauty of adaptation. The aging vessels do not lose their purpose. They refine it, turning the swift vitality of youth into the deep harmony of longevity. Through every stage of life, the blood continues to move, the vessels continue to serve, and the heart continues to beat, not as it once did, but exactly as it must, in perfect accord with the rhythm of time itself. 15. The harmony of circulation. In the great stillness of the body, beneath the rhythm of breath and the quiet stirrings of thought, there moves a ceaseless current, the flow of blood through its endless pathways. This movement, steady and unseen, unites all parts of the body into a single, living whole. It is a system so intricate and yet so balanced that it seems less a mechanism and more a harmony, a continuous song of motion that sustains life in its every form. From the first beat of the heart before birth to the final quiet pulse at life's end, the circulation of blood remains the body's most faithful rhythm, the silent expression of existence itself. Every moment of life depends upon this gentle movement. The heart beats roughly 100,000 times each day, pushing blood through a network of vessels that stretches for thousands of miles. Each drop travels its cycle from the heart to the lungs, through the arteries and capillaries, and back again through the veins. Within this ceaseless circuit, the blood performs its quiet miracles. It carries oxygen to the cells, removes waste, delivers nourishment, and carries signals that keep every organ in balance. Yet for all its complexity, the system is so harmonious that we rarely notice it. The pulse beneath the wrist, the warmth of the skin, the calm of steady breathing. These are the faint traces of the immense and delicate symphony occurring within. At the heart of this harmony lies balance. The flow must be strong enough to reach the farthest tissues, yet gentle enough to protect them. Pressure must rise and fall in rhythm, neither surging nor failing. Every vessel, from the broad aorta to the smallest capillary, plays its part in maintaining this equilibrium. The arteries deliver the heartbeat's force outward. The veins return the quiet echo inward. The capillaries stand between them, mediating exchange with patience and precision. The lymphatic vessels, moving in slow companionship, gather what is left behind and restore it to the flow. It is a perfect choreography of movement and stillness, of giving and returning. This balance extends beyond the physical, touching the very essence of the body's relationship with its environment. The circulation responds to warmth and cold, to exertion and rest, to emotion and thought. When we move, vessels open to feed the muscles. When we sleep, they constrict gently to preserve calm. When the mind is at peace, the heart slows, and the pulse softens. When fear or excitement stirs, it quickens, sending strength where it is needed. The circulatory system does not act alone. It listens to the body's signals and adjusts, moment by moment, to maintain internal harmony. In this way, it reflects not only the physiology of life, but its philosophy, a quiet adaptability, an unbroken responsiveness to change. If one could follow the blood through its full journey, it would be like tracing the flow of a river that both begins and ends at the same source. The journey starts in the heart, where the muscular walls gather and release with perfect rhythm. blood is pushed into the arteries, where the pulse is bright and full of life. As it travels outward, the pressure softens, the pace slows, and the current divides into finer and finer branches. Within the capillaries, the blood pauses in silence, releasing oxygen and gathering carbon dioxide, trading what it has for what the body needs to give back. Then it flows into the veins, calm, darkened, and steady, gathering from every tissue, every organ, every cell, until it returns to the heart once again. There, the cycle begins anew, without hesitation or fatigue. Each loop of this endless journey is a reflection of the greater cycles found throughout nature. The tides, the seasons, the alternation of day and night. The body, in its circulation, mirrors the universe's own rhythm of renewal. The harmony of circulation also lies in its unity, though we speak of the heart, the vessels, and the blood as separate entities. In truth, they are one continuous system. The blood cannot move without the heart cannot beat without the vessels, and neither can function without the blood that fills them. The walls of the arteries and veins are alive with cells that sense the flow, responding with signals that shape its course. The blood itself carries hormones that influence the heart's rhythm, while the heart's contractions create the very pressure that drives the blood onward. It is a circle of mutual dependence, where every part serves the others in a seamless exchange. Within this unity, there exists a profound quietness. The circulation is not noisy or violent. Its power lies in constancy rather than intensity. The heart's motion is smooth, its rhythm measured. The blood moves without turbulence, guided by the shape of the vessels and the softness of their walls. Even the fluctuations of pressure that mark each heartbeat are absorbed by the elasticity of the arteries, transformed from pulses into waves. This smoothness protects the tissues and preserves energy, allowing the circulation to continue effortlessly throughout life. The heart, though it beats millions of times, rarely tires, because its motion is efficient and balanced, the rhythm of strength, moderated by rest. There is also beauty in the way the circulatory system serves both the individual cell and the body as a whole. Every cell receives what it needs through the same flow that nourishes all others. The blood that delivers oxygen to the fingertips also feeds the brain. The blood that leaves the lungs in one moment returns to them in another. In this shared flow lies a deep interconnectedness. No part of the body is truly isolated. All depend upon the same current. The red blood cell that passes through the heart one moment may reach the eye, or the skin, or the liver the next. The same life that animates the hand also sustains the heart. In this continuous circulation, the body finds its unity and its peace. As the years pass, the pattern of circulation may change, but its purpose remains. The pulse may slow, the vessels may stiffen, but the flow continues, adapting to each stage of life. In youth, the blood moves with vigor, rising quickly and returning with ease. In age, the same current flows more gently, conserving its strength, yet carrying the same quiet determination. The heart adjusts its pace, the vessels adjust their tone, and balance is preserved. This adaptability, this ability to change while remaining true to purpose, is the essence of the circulatory system's wisdom. It teaches that endurance lies not in resistance, but in the capacity to flow. To contemplate the circulation is to glimpse a truth that extends beyond the body. It shows that life is movement, but not chaotic motion. It is rhythm, order, and exchange. The blood gives what it has, receives what it needs, and continues on. The heart works not in dominance but in service, sharing its strength with every cell. Even the smallest vessels participate in this cooperation, opening and closing in response to the body's quiet signals. The harmony of circulation reflects the harmony of existence itself, the interplay of energy and rest, giving and receiving, tension and release. If one were to imagine the body as a landscape, the circulation would be its rivers and streams, the flow that nourishes every valley and plain. The heart would be the source spring, ever renewing, ever constant. The vessels would form the tributaries, spreading the current to the farthest reaches, and the capillaries, invisible yet vital, would be the places where the waters meet the roots of life, exchanging sustenance for renewal. Together they create a living geography of flow, a map of continuity that sustains the landscape of the self. In the quiet of the night, when the body rests and the world seems still, this flow continues. The heart does not sleep. The vessels do not close. The blood moves gently through its circuits, carrying warmth, oxygen, and peace to every corner. It is a reminder that life persists even in stillness, that motion and rest are never separate. The harmony of circulation is the harmony of being a balance so perfect that we need not think of it, yet one that holds us in existence with every beat. Thus, the story of circulation ends where it began, with the simple, enduring pulse of life. The heart contracts, the vessels yield, the blood flows, and balance is restored. It is a cycle without beginning or end, a rhythm as old as time, carrying within it the quiet wisdom of nature's design. The harmony of circulation is the harmony of life itself, constant, calm, and complete. In every heartbeat, it whispers the same truth, that to live is to move, to give, to receive, and to flow in gentle continuity with the world around us. 16. The circulatory system and the breath of life. At the very center of all living motion lies the meeting of two great currents, the flow of blood and the rhythm of breath. One carries life's essence through the body, while the other renews that essence with every inhalation. Together, they form an eternal dialogue, a partnership so intimate that neither can exist fully without the other. The circulatory system and the respiratory system are often described as separate, yet in truth they are two voices of the same song, harmonizing in perfect rhythm to sustain life. The heart's beat and the breath's tide are woven together so completely that the sound of one is shaped by the rhythm of the other. Every moment of our existence depends on this union. The blood flows through the lungs not merely to move but to be transformed. It arrives there heavy with carbon dioxide, the quiet residue of cellular work, and it leaves bright with oxygen, the element that awakens energy in every cell. The lungs, soft and expansive, provide the space for this exchange. Within their countless alveoli, thin as silk and surrounded by capillaries, air meets blood with delicate precision. Oxygen diffuses inward, carbon dioxide outward, and in that gentle trade, the breath becomes the heartbeat's nourishment. Each system completes the other. The lungs renew the blood, and the heart delivers the air's gift to every living tissue. When we breathe in, the diaphragm descends and the chest expands, drawing air deep into the lungs. This motion lowers the pressure within the chest cavity, not only filling the lungs, but also easing the return of blood to the heart. The great veins of the thorax, freed from surrounding pressure, open more fully, allowing blood from the body to flow upward into the heart's waiting chambers. As we exhale, the process reverses, the chest compresses, the pressure rises, and blood is gently pushed onward into the pulmonary vessels. This natural rhythm of breathing, occurring thousands of times each day, assists the circulation quietly and continuously. The two systems are linked not by coincidence but by design, each movement of air subtly shaping the flow of blood. The relationship between breath and circulation is more than mechanical. It is deeply rhythmic. The heart's pace adjusts instinctively to the breath's pattern. When we inhale, the heart beats a little faster. When we exhale, it slows. This phenomenon, known as respiratory sinus arrhythmia, is not a flaw but a sign of health, a subtle conversation between the nervous system and the heart. It reflects the body's adaptability, its ability to shift between alertness and calm. Through this interplay, breath becomes the quiet conductor of the heart's tempo, modulating its rhythm with every cycle of expansion and release. In stillness, this coordination becomes even more pronounced. During sleep, when the breath deepens and lengthens, the heart's rate decreases, allowing the body to rest and renew. During activity, when breathing quickens, the heart responds immediately, increasing its force to meet the demand for oxygen. Even emotion finds expression through this connection. In moments of fear or excitement, breathing becomes shallow and rapid, and the pulse follows suit. In peace or reflection, both slow together, settling into a shared cadence. This synchrony between heart and breath mirrors the inner state of being, revealing the unity of body and mind through the simplest of rhythms. On a microscopic level, this harmony continues within every cell. The oxygen carried by hemoglobin in red blood cells is released not arbitrarily, but precisely where it is needed most. In tissues where carbon dioxide concentration is high and oxygen is low, hemoglobin loosens its hold, delivering its cargo to the cells that require it. There, within the mitochondria, oxygen participates in the quiet fire of metabolism, the process by which nutrients are transformed into energy. Carbon dioxide, a product of this combustion, diffuses back into the bloodstream, where it is carried to the lungs for release. Each breath thus carries away the memory of the body's labor, while every new inhalation brings the potential for renewal. The entire organism functions as one great cycle of exchange energy given and replenished, moment by moment, breath by breath. The sensitivity of this partnership can be seen in the body's constant adjustments to maintain balance. When oxygen levels in the blood fall, specialized receptors in the carotid arteries and the aorta send signals to the brain's respiratory center. Breathing deepens and quickens, drawing in more air, while the heart beats faster to circulate oxygen more rapidly. When carbon dioxide levels rise, a similar response occurs, ensuring that waste is expelled efficiently. These automatic reflexes, operating without conscious thought, preserve the narrow range of oxygen and carbon dioxide that sustains life. In every breath, the body measures and responds, fine-tuning its internal harmony without our awareness. The breath's influence on circulation extends beyond the physical into the emotional and the mental. Deep, steady breathing has the power to calm the heart, to slow its pace and steady its rhythm. Shallow or irregular breathing, in contrast, can lead to tension, raising the pulse and narrowing the vessels. Ancient practices of meditation and mindfulness, long before modern physiology described them, understood this connection intuitively. To breathe consciously is to communicate directly with the heart, to guide its rhythm through the language of air. The act of slowing the breath allows the entire circulatory system to settle into a pattern of ease, lowering pressure, improving flow, and restoring equilibrium. This connection also reveals how intimately the external world is woven into the body's inner function. Each breath draws in air that moments ago may have surrounded another living being, part of the shared atmosphere of life on Earth. The oxygen that enters the lungs may have been formed in a distant forest or carried across oceans. As it enters the bloodstream, it becomes part of us, diffused into our cells, transformed into thought, movement, and warmth. When we exhale, the carbon dioxide we release nourishes the plants that will one day return oxygen to the air. Thus, the circulatory and respiratory systems form not only an internal partnership, but also a bridge between the body and the world, a continuous exchange that unites all living things in the same rhythm of giving and receiving. In times of exertion, this connection grows more vivid. The breath deepens, the heart quickens, and the vessels open to deliver oxygen where it is most needed. Muscles flush with warmth as blood surges through them, carrying fuel and clearing away fatigue. As the lungs expand to their full capacity, the heartbeat matches their pace, driving the rhythm of motion. When the effort ceases, both systems ease together, slowing like the tide withdrawing from the shore. This natural rise and fall mirrors all cycles of activity and rest in the body, the pulse of waking and sleeping, of growth and repair. There is a quiet beauty in knowing that the simple act of breathing sustains not only life but also the flow of blood. The heart and lungs, though separate in form, are bound by the same purpose: to keep the inner world in motion. Their rhythm speaks of balance, the balance between the external and the internal, between what we take in and what we release. Each breath, each beat, is an affirmation of continuity, of renewal without end. If one were to listen deeply enough, perhaps in the stillness of rest, the sound of this partnership might be heard. The faint whisper of air entering the lungs, the soft murmur of blood rushing through the vessels, the two blending into one unbroken harmony. This is the music of life's persistence, the quiet duet of heart and breath that carries on through every moment of being. In this harmony of circulation and respiration, we find the simplest expression of existence. The blood cannot move without the breath, and the breath finds its purpose only through the blood. Together, they teach that to live is to exchange, to give and to receive, to flow in rhythm with the world. The heart's pulse and the lungs' tide are not separate songs but one melody, steady and eternal, the breath of life itself, circulating endlessly through the body, through the world, and through time. 17. The heart as the center of flow. At the core of the entire circulatory system lies a structure of astonishing simplicity and strength. It is no larger than a clenched hand, yet it moves every drop of blood through the vast network of vessels that sustains the human body. From the moment life begins until its final quiet moment, the heart beats without pause, a steady rhythm that never falters willingly. It is the center of flow, the engine of motion, and the silent witness to every instant of existence. Yet, beyond its mechanical function, the heart is also a symbol of balance and unity. It stands as both the physical and the poetic center of life, a bridge between movement and stillness, between the body's physical needs and the deeper pulse of being itself. The heart's design is both elegant and efficient. It is divided into 4 chambers, each with its own role in the cycle of circulation. The 2 upper chambers, the atria, act as gentle receivers of blood, one collecting the oxygen-poor blood returning from the body, and the other gathering oxygen-rich blood from the lungs. Beneath them, the 2 ventricles serve as the great pumps, propelling blood with measured force to its destinations. The right ventricle sending it toward the lungs for renewal, and the left ventricle driving it through the arteries to nourish every organ and tissue. The valves between these chambers open and close in flawless coordination, ensuring that blood flows only forward, never backward. The sound of these valves, the steady lub-dub that echoes in the chest, is the audible expression of the heart's eternal work. Each beat of the heart is both a moment of action and a moment of release. During systole, the ventricles contract, pressing blood into the arteries and sending a pulse through the body. During diastole, they relax, filling once more in preparation for the next contraction. This rhythm, alternating endlessly between tension and rest, mirrors the deeper rhythm of all living things. The rise and fall of tides, the cycle of day and night, the balance of activity and stillness. The heart's power lies not in unbroken exertion, but in this constant alternation, the balance of effort and ease. It is a reminder that even the most vital forces of life depend on rhythm, not on constancy of strain. Within the heart's walls lies a specialized network of cells that directs its motion with perfect timing. The sinoatrial node, often called the heart's natural pacemaker, generates tiny electrical impulses that spread through the atria, causing them to contract. These signals then reach the atrioventricular node, which delays them slightly before sending them down the bundle of His and through the Purkinje fibers, prompting the ventricles to contract in turn. This sequence ensures that each part of the heart moves in harmony, that the chambers fill and empty in proper order. The electrical rhythm that drives the heart is both autonomous and responsive. It continues on its own, yet it can quicken or slow in response to the body's needs. It is, in essence, a self-sustaining pulse, guided by the whispers of the nervous system. The heart does not beat at a fixed rate. Its rhythm shifts with the conditions of life. During rest, it slows, conserving energy and allowing the body to repair. During exertion, it accelerates, delivering oxygen more swiftly to the muscles and brain. Emotional states, too, leave their imprint upon it. Joy, fear, excitement, sorrow. Each sends a cascade of chemical and neural signals that alter the heart's rhythm. The pulse quickens in anticipation, softens in calm, trembles in tenderness, steadies in sleep. Through these variations, the heart reflects the entirety of human experience. It is both an organ of survival and a mirror of emotion, its rhythm shaped as much by thought and feeling as by physical need. The energy of each heartbeat is immense yet contained. The left ventricle alone propels blood with enough force to send it coursing through the body's 60,000 miles of vessels, overcoming gravity, resistance, and the friction of flow. Yet this power is expressed not in chaos but in order. The pressure rises and falls smoothly. The valves open and close with quiet precision, and the blood flows forward in an unbroken wave. The heart's strength lies in its discipline, in its ability to transform raw energy into the gentle continuity of life. Every beat is an act of balance, force guided by control, motion tempered by rhythm. The heart's relationship with the blood it moves is one of profound reciprocity. Though it drives the flow, it is also sustained by it. Through the coronary arteries that branch from the aorta, the heart receives its own nourishment. These vessels encircle the heart like a crown, delivering oxygen and nutrients to the muscle fibers that work tirelessly day and night. The blood that fills the chambers does not feed the heart directly. Instead, it is through this dedicated circulation that the heart cares for itself, even as it serves the body. This quiet self-sufficiency is emblematic of the heart's wisdom to give endlessly, yet to sustain itself through its own provision. The heart also maintains a deep connection to rhythm beyond the physical. Each beat carries a pulse that can be felt not only under the skin but within the mind, a subtle reminder of continuity, a reassurance that life moves onward, even in stillness. It has been said that the heart listens as much as it speaks. It responds to breath, to emotion, to the gentle sway of thought, and in return, it influences them. When the heart beats evenly, the body rests in harmony. When it races, the world seems to quicken. When it falters, everything else feels uncertain. Thus, the heart is not merely the center of flow, but the center of awareness, the silent conductor of the orchestra of being. In times of rest, the heart demonstrates its mastery of efficiency. It beats slowly, yet each contraction is strong, filling the arteries with quiet steadiness. In deep sleep, its pace falls even lower, sometimes to fewer than 50 beats per minute, allowing the body's energy to replenish. During activity, its rhythm quickens in perfect proportion to demand, rising without panic, falling without collapse. This adaptability is what allows the human body to move from rest to action and back again without strain. The heart's rhythm is not rigid. It is fluid, capable of infinite variations yet always returning to balance. It is, in its own way, a living metronome, one that guides the tempo of every process within the body. The sound of the heartbeat is a sound of reassurance, soft, steady, ancient. In early life, it is the first rhythm we ever hear, echoing through the fluid world of the womb. That rhythm becomes a companion, a constant presence, through every phase of existence. It marks time not in minutes or hours, but in moments of motion, the rising and falling tide of life itself. When we listen to it closely, whether through a stethoscope or by placing a hand upon the chest, we hear not just an organ's movement, but the quiet persistence of being. In the end, the heart is more than the center of the circulatory system. It is the center of continuity. Through it, the body finds its rhythm, its pulse, its constancy. Through it, the blood becomes more than fluid, it becomes motion, purpose, life. The heart's work is both mechanical and spiritual, uniting the physical act of pumping with the deeper metaphor of connection. It serves without pause, giving endlessly, yet never depleting itself. It stands as a model of balance, of strength that flows through gentleness, of endurance that depends upon rhythm, of vitality that arises from peace. And so the heart, though unseen in its quiet chamber, remains the body's most eloquent voice. With each beat, it affirms the unbroken continuity of life, the ceaseless flow that began long before we were aware of it, and that will continue until our final moment of rest. It is the perfect expression of nature's harmony, a vessel of power tempered by grace, a rhythm that sustains without demanding attention, a pulse that binds the body and the spirit into one seamless whole. The heart, in its endless labor and its unspoken calm, is not merely the center of flow, it is the center of life itself. 18. The circulatory system in rest and renewal. In the quiet hours of rest, when the body grows still and the mind begins to drift toward sleep, the circulatory system continues its work with gentle devotion. Though the muscles soften and the breath slows, the heart does not cease, and the vessels do not close. The flow of blood, steady and patient, moves on beneath the surface, carrying warmth, nourishment, and calm to every corner of the body. In this state of rest, the circulation changes its rhythm, adopting a slower, deeper pattern that mirrors the tranquility of the sleeping mind. It becomes the silent guardian of renewal, maintaining the delicate processes of repair and restoration that prepare the body for the waking world once more. During wakefulness, the heart and vessels respond to constant shifts in activity, the quickened pulse of movement, the subtle adjustments to posture and thought, the countless changes that accompany each breath. But when sleep descends, the body's demands lessen. The heart, freed from the urgency of action, slows its pace. Its beat becomes measured and calm, conserving energy while still sustaining flow. Blood pressure falls gently, easing the strain on the vessel walls, and the arteries relax, allowing the blood to move more evenly through their channels. This peaceful state of reduced demand allows the heart to rest even as it continues to beat, a reminder that rest in the living body is never complete stillness, but rather a softer rhythm of life. As we sleep, the distribution of blood shifts subtly within the body. The digestive organs, active in the early hours of rest, receive a generous share of circulation to complete the absorption and processing of nutrients. The liver continues its work of purification, filtering the blood and storing energy for the coming day. The kidneys, too, maintain their quiet diligence, regulating fluid balance and ensuring that waste is removed with care. The muscles, no longer engaged in motion, receive steady but minimal flow, while the skin cools as blood withdraws slightly inward to preserve core warmth. The brain, however, remains richly supplied, for though consciousness sleeps, the mind continues to work, sorting memory, restoring balance, and weaving the tapestry of dreams. The pattern of circulation during sleep follows a gentle wave. Each phase of rest brings its own adjustments in flow and pressure. During light sleep, the heart rate remains steady, the vessels calm. As the body drifts into deeper stages, the heart slows further, reaching its lowest rhythm of the night. blood pressure decreases, and the flow to the muscles and extremities becomes more even and diffuse. In the stage of rapid eye movement, when the mind enters vivid dreams, the heart momentarily quickens again, responding to the flickering energy of thought. Yet even in these subtle fluctuations, the underlying rhythm remains one of peace. The heart and vessels adapt effortlessly, shifting between stillness and motion as the night passes. This nightly renewal is essential. The slower circulation during rest allows the tissues to repair the wear of the waking day. Cells receive a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients for rebuilding. Damaged proteins are replaced. Immune cells patrol quietly, searching for imbalance. The bloodstream carries not only oxygen and nutrients, but also messages of restoration hormones released during sleep that trigger growth, repair, and regulation. The gentle pulse of the heart becomes the tide that delivers these signals, circulating the chemistry of healing through the body's quiet waters. The endothelium, the thin inner lining of the vessels, benefits especially from this nightly calm. During wakefulness, it endures constant fluctuations of pressure and flow, responding moment by moment to changes in posture, emotion, and exertion. At night, these demands lessen, and the endothelial cells restore themselves, renewing their delicate surfaces and replenishing the substances that maintain vessel health. This nightly repair preserves the flexibility of the arteries and ensures that the circulatory system remains resilient. Even the heart's muscle fibers undergo renewal during rest, clearing away the byproducts of energy use and preparing for another day of ceaseless motion. In this way, sleep and circulation form a partnership as intimate as that of blood and breath. The quality of rest directly influences the health of the heart and vessels. Deep, uninterrupted sleep strengthens their rhythms, stabilizes blood pressure, and supports the balance of hormones that regulate flow. When rest is shortened or disturbed, the heart must work harder to maintain equilibrium, and the gentle harmony of the vessels may falter. Over time, consistent rest becomes not merely a comfort but a necessity, a daily renewal of the circulatory system's strength and precision. The circulatory system also plays its part in creating the serenity of sleep. As the evening deepens and the body prepares for rest, signals from the brain guide the vessels to dilate slightly, allowing heat to radiate from the skin. This subtle cooling of the body is one of the cues that invites sleep. The blood, moving closer to the surface, releases warmth into the surrounding air, and the pulse slows in quiet accompaniment. Once sleep begins, the blood redistributes again, flowing inward to nourish the organs and to sustain the processes of repair. In this gentle dance between surface and core, the circulation becomes both a messenger and a guardian, leading the body from wakefulness into repose. Even in dreams, the circulation continues its work of unity. The oxygen that feeds the dreaming brain comes from the same heart that beats through every other part of the body. The same pulse that reaches the fingertips also nourishes the deep centers of thought. The blood's movement becomes a kind of bridge between body and mind, maintaining connection even when consciousness drifts apart from the waking world. In this way, the circulation ensures that the individual remains whole, the mind never fully separated from the body never abandoned by its living pulse. When dawn approaches and the first light filters through the closed eyes, the circulatory system begins its gentle awakening. The heart, sensing the rising signals of consciousness, begins to quicken its pace. Blood pressure slowly climbs, preparing the body for movement and awareness. The vessels tighten slightly, redirecting flow to the muscles and brain. The skin warms, the breath deepens, and the great rhythm of daytime activity returns. Yet the body does not leap into wakefulness all at once. It transitions through a gradual crescendo, as though the circulation itself were stirring from its own dream. In the waking hours that follow, the effects of the night's rest are felt in every beat. The heart moves with renewed ease, its muscle fibers strengthened by recovery. The vessels respond smoothly to changes in posture and motion. The blood flows with clarity, carrying the freshness of renewal to the waiting cells. Each morning's heartbeat is thus not merely a continuation of the last, but a small rebirth, a rhythm refreshed by the stillness that preceded it. To observe the circulatory system in rest and renewal is to understand that even the most constant forces of life depend upon cycles of activity and repose. The heart's endurance arises from its ability to pause between beats, to find strength in rest as much as in motion. The vessels, too, require stillness to maintain their flexibility, the blood its calm flow to maintain balance. Life is not sustained by motion alone, but by the alternation of motion and quiet, exertion and ease. The circulation, in its nightly rhythm, reflects this universal truth that all living things, from the smallest cell to the greatest organism, draw their strength from the gentle harmony of renewal. Thus, as we sleep, the body does not cease to live. It lives differently, in a slower and deeper way. The heart's rhythm softens but never stops. The blood's flow diminishes but never fades. Through the night, in silence and darkness, the circulatory system continues its ancient work, cleansing, healing, balancing, preparing, and when the day returns, it resumes its outward rhythm, as though it had never paused at all. The unbroken flow of life continues, guided by the same pulse that has been with us since our first breath, a rhythm of constancy wrapped within the tender stillness of rest. 19. The circulatory system and the mind. Deep within the quiet motion of blood, there exists an unseen connection between the body and the mind, a link so constant that it shapes thought, emotion, and awareness themselves. The circulatory system, though often described in purely physical terms, participates intimately in the life of the mind. The steady flow of blood nourishes the brain, clears its waste, and carries the signals that underlie every sensation and feeling. But its influence extends further still, beyond the mere maintenance of neurons, into the very rhythm of consciousness. The pulse of the heart, the rise and fall of blood pressure, the warmth that fills the skin, all these are subtle reflections of the mind's inner state. In turn, the thoughts we hold, the emotions we feel, and the calm or agitation we experience ripple through the body's vessels, changing their tone and pace. Thus, the heart and the mind are not separate entities, but partners in a continuous dialogue, speaking through the shared language of flow. The brain, though it represents only a small fraction of the body's weight, consumes a disproportionate share of the blood's nourishment. Every second, vast volumes of oxygen-rich blood pass through its intricate network of arteries, feeding the neurons that orchestrate thought, memory, and perception. The brain's demand for oxygen never wanes. Even a brief interruption in its blood supply can alter awareness or extinguish consciousness entirely. To ensure that this delicate organ receives what it needs, the body maintains one of its most finely regulated circulations. The cerebral arteries are capable of constant adjustment, dilating when activity increases, constricting when it lessens, maintaining a steady flow regardless of changes elsewhere in the body. This self-regulation, known as autoregulation, allows the brain to function with remarkable stability, even as the heart rate, blood pressure, and posture shift from moment to moment. Within the brain's deep structure lies a network that monitors and responds to the state of the circulation. When oxygen levels fall or carbon dioxide rises, sensors in the brainstem send messages that alter breathing, pulse, and vessel tone. In this way, the mind and the circulation form a feedback loop of exquisite precision, the brain governing the flow that sustains it, and the flow, in turn, influencing the brain's performance. The clarity of thought, the sharpness of focus, even the steadiness of mood, depend upon this partnership. When the blood moves with ease and the brain is well nourished, the mind feels calm and clear. When flow is disturbed, the mind senses imbalance, manifesting as tension, fatigue, or confusion. Emotions, too, are written into the circulation. When fear or excitement arises, the sympathetic nervous system releases adrenaline, tightening vessels in some regions and widening them in others, sending blood surging to the muscles and heart. The pulse quickens, the skin grows warm or pale, and the body prepares for action. When calm returns, the parasympathetic system restores balance. The heart slows, the vessels relax, and blood redistributes itself toward the organs of rest and repair. Every emotional state leaves a pattern in the body's flow, just as every thought leaves a trace in the heart's rhythm. This connection is why we speak of emotions as physical sensations: a racing heart and anxiety, warmth and affection, heaviness and sorrow. They are not metaphors but real reflections of the circulatory system's response to the mind's quiet storms. In times of deep peace, this connection can be felt most clearly. The breath slows, the pulse becomes soft, and the heart's rhythm aligns gently with the pattern of inhalation and exhalation. The vessels open slightly, lowering pressure, and warmth spreads through the skin. The entire circulatory system shifts into a mode of restoration, guided by the calm influence of the mind. This state, achieved in rest, meditation, or quiet reflection, allows the heart and vessels to renew their balance. The blood flows freely, carrying oxygen more efficiently, and the tissues receive what they need without strain. The harmony between the mind and the circulation in such moments is profound, a physiological expression of tranquility. Even thoughts themselves, though intangible, have physical consequences for the flow of blood. Studies have shown that moments of concentration increase cerebral blood flow in the regions of the brain engaged in the task, while relaxation allows a more diffuse, even distribution. Joy, gratitude, and love are accompanied by gentle dilation of vessels and smoother pulse waves. Anger or fear constrict the vessels, increasing pressure and demand. Though the changes are small, they reveal the sensitivity of the circulatory system to the inner landscape of the mind. It listens to every thought and emotion as though they were instructions, adjusting its rhythm in perfect sympathy. The circulation becomes, in this sense, an instrument through which the mind plays its song of life. Yet the influence flows in both directions. Just as the mind can shape the rhythm of the blood, the condition of the blood can shape the quality of the mind. When the flow to the brain is steady and oxygen abundant, the mind feels clear and alert. When it falters, fatigue and fog descend. After physical exertion, when the blood courses swiftly and endorphins circulate, the mind feels uplifted and serene. When the circulation slows during illness or prolonged stillness, mood and clarity may dim. The blood carries not only nutrients and gases, but also the subtle chemistry of feeling hormones, neurotransmitters, and molecules that shape emotion and perception. Through this chemistry, the state of the body and the state of the mind remain forever intertwined. The heart's rhythm, too, reflects this connection in ways that extend beyond physiology. In calmness, the intervals between beats vary slightly, a natural phenomenon known as heart rate variability. This variation signifies adaptability, a sign that the heart is responsive and resilient. When the mind is anxious or stressed, this variability diminishes, and the rhythm becomes rigid, a reflection of tension within. When the mind is at ease, the heart's rhythm regains its flexibility, dancing gently in time with the breath. Thus, the heart does not merely serve the body. It listens to the tone of the mind, echoing its patterns in the flow of blood. During deep thought or meditation, the connection between the circulatory system and the mind reaches a kind of stillness that is paradoxically full of motion. The heart slows, yet each beat seems more complete. The breath deepens, the vessels widen, and the body enters a state of equilibrium. In this balance, awareness expands. The pulse becomes less a sound within the body and more a sensation of unity, as if the entire being were breathing and beating together. Ancient traditions often recognize this union intuitively, teaching that to steady the breath is to steady the mind, and to calm the heart is to calm the spirit. Modern understanding confirms what those quiet observations long ago perceived. The mind and circulation are one continuous system of exchange, their rhythms inseparable. Even in dreams, when the mind wanders through landscapes of memory and imagination, the circulation responds. The heart's pace may shift with the emotion of the dream, rising during moments of vividness, falling during rest. The brain's regions light with activity, drawing more blood to sustain their fleeting visions. The same system that supports the waking world now carries the substance of the unconscious, keeping the mind's inner life nourished through the night. In the vast interplay between mind and circulation, there is no hierarchy, neither commands the other absolutely. They move together, each shaping and shaped by the other's rhythm. The mind sends its silent signals through nerves and hormones. The heart and vessels answer with changes in tone and pace. The returning flow carries signals of its own oxygen, warmth, and the quiet reassurance of continuity. The result is a loop of balance, a living circle in which thought, emotion, and physiology merge into one ongoing flow. To feel one's pulse, then, is not merely to sense the movement of blood. It is to touch the living presence of the mind within the body. Each beat carries both the rhythm of the heart and the reflection of the inner state. When calm, the pulse feels smooth and even. When troubled, it quickens or tightens. The circulation mirrors our inner world as faithfully as it sustains the outer one. In the end, the circulatory system and the mind are threads of the same tapestry, woven from motion and awareness. The blood carries the substance of life, and the mind gives that life meaning. Together they form a seamless harmony, the flow of thought mirrored in the flow of blood, the rhythm of emotion echoed in the pulse of the heart. Through this partnership, the body becomes more than matter, and the mind more than abstraction. Each breath, each beat, each quiet moment of reflection is part of the same ongoing rhythm, the continuous pulse of life, moving gently between heart and mind, body and spirit, in a cycle without beginning or end. The eternal rhythm of life. There is a rhythm that begins before memory and continues until the final breath, a rhythm so constant that we rarely stop to notice it. The pulse of the heart, the flow of blood, the ceaseless motion that underlies all living things. The circulatory system is not merely a network of vessels and chambers. It is the embodiment of life's persistence, the quiet continuum that unites every moment of existence. Within its steady rhythm lies the story of birth, growth, adaptation, and return. From the faint, fluttering heartbeat of an unborn child to the measured pulse of old age, this system bears witness to every transformation the body undergoes. It is both ancient and immediate, mechanical in function, yet deeply poetic in meaning. It carries not only the blood, but the passage of time itself. The heart's rhythm is the first sign of life to appear within the developing embryo, long before the brain has formed its first thought, before eyes can see or lungs can breathe. The heart begins to beat. It pulses into being as a simple tube, then folds and divides, forming the chambers that will sustain a lifetime of flow. From that moment onward, its rhythm never truly stops until life itself comes to an end. It beats through joy and fatigue, through growth and rest, through all the quiet variations of human experience. The constancy of that rhythm is both a physical truth and a reminder of something deeper, that within each of us exists a movement beyond our will, a continuity that endures beneath thought and emotion, anchoring us to the essence of being alive. As the years unfold, this rhythm adapts with remarkable grace. In childhood, the heart beats quickly, sending bursts of energy through small and growing limbs. In adulthood, the pulse slows, settling into the measured cadence of strength and endurance. In later years, it softens further, its power tempered by time, yet still faithful, still enduring. Through all these changes, the heart remains a symbol of resilience. It teaches through its motion that life is not a single, unbroken surge, but a series of cycles of expansion and rest, of giving and receiving. Just as each heartbeat contains both contraction and relaxation, so does life alternate between effort and release. The wisdom of the circulatory system lies in this balance, to move endlessly without haste, to exert power without strain. The blood that travels through the vessels is more than a fluid of survival. It is the living thread that connects all parts of the body into a single whole. Every cell, from the neurons of the brain to the skin at the fingertips, is touched by its flow. Within that movement, individuality dissolves. There is no isolated cell, no independent organ. Each depends upon the others, and all are bound together through the passage of blood. This unity is mirrored in the rhythm of the heart, which serves not one part, but all. Every contraction is an act of giving, sending nourishment outward. Every relaxation is an act of receiving, allowing renewal. The heart's alternating motion mirrors the essence of harmony, a constant exchange that sustains both self and whole. If we could see the circulation as a single, continuous loop, it would appear as a dance of energy, a choreography of motion that extends through every fiber of the body. The arteries carry force and light, the veins return calm and shadow. The capillaries stand between them as quiet meeting places, where life is exchanged in stillness. This interplay between motion and stillness is not confined to physiology. It is the same principle that governs the natural world. Rivers flow from their sources and return through clouds and rain. The tides rise and fall in endless rhythm. The seasons expand and contract between warmth and rest. The body, through its circulation, echoes these same cycles, expressing within its structure the greater patterns of nature. When we pause to listen, truly listen to the pulse beneath our skin, we are hearing more than a bodily sound. We are hearing the echo of the universe's motion. The same forces that drive the orbit of planets and the swelling of tides are reflected, on a smaller scale, in the pressure and release of the heart. This is why the sound of the heartbeat carries such power in human experience. It is the first rhythm we know and the last we will ever feel. Between those two moments, it is the invisible companion to every breath, every thought, every dream. Its constancy gives shape to time itself, marking the passage of seconds in a way no clock ever could. In the stillness of rest, the circulation continues with a gentleness that borders on silence. During sleep, when consciousness fades, the heart slows to its calmest rhythm. The vessels relax, and the blood moves with unhurried grace. Yet even in that state, life persists in full measure. The tissues are renewed, the organs repaired, and the mind restored. The rhythm softens but does not fade. It becomes background music to the body's night work, the quiet labor of preservation. When morning returns, the pulse rises again with awareness, matching the day's unfolding energy. Thus, within every cycle of sleeping and waking, the circulatory system weaves the pattern of continuity, the unbroken thread between stillness and movement. The eternal rhythm of life also extends beyond the individual. Just as blood circulates through one body, so too does energy circulate through the living world. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the warmth we absorb, all have moved through countless forms of life before reaching us. The oxygen in our blood was once part of a leaf's exhalation. The iron in our red cells was forged in the heart of a long-dead star. Even the rhythm of our pulse resonates with the pulses of other beings, the beating wings of birds, the tides, the seasonal cycles of growth and decay. Through circulation, the individual becomes part of the whole, each life a note in the greater symphony of existence. In times of still reflection, One may feel this continuity, the sense that the pulse within the wrist is not merely one's own, but part of a larger, universal rhythm. To become aware of it is to feel profoundly connected to one's body, to the earth, to the quiet forces that move through all living things. The heartbeat becomes a meditation, a grounding presence that draws attention inward, yet opens awareness outward. It reminds us that even when the mind is still, life continues to move. Even when the world seems motionless, circulation persists beneath the surface. The eternal rhythm of life is not only in motion, but in the spaces between the brief pause between beats, the silent gap between breaths. Over time, the rhythm that has accompanied us from the beginning will slow. The heart that has worked faithfully for decades will find its pace easing, its pulse softening. Yet even in those final moments, it does not cease abruptly, but rather completes its pattern, ending as gently as it began. In that final quiet, the flow that once sustained the individual returns to the greater flow of nature, the elements of the body dissolving, the energy dispersing, the rhythm merging back into the universal pulse. Life does not vanish. It changes form, just as water becomes vapor and rain, just as day yields to night and back again. The circulation that once defined one body becomes part of the circulation of the world. To contemplate the eternal rhythm of life is to find peace within impermanence. The heart's beating teaches that existence is not a straight line but a circle, not a single burst of energy, but an unending wave. The blood's flow shows that giving and receiving are one and the same, that the movement outward always returns inward in due time. The body, through its quiet systems, offers a lesson that transcends biology, that harmony arises not from resistance but from rhythm, not from permanence but from motion. And so, the circulatory system, in all its complexity, is a reflection of life's deepest truth. It is the rhythm that never ceases, the pulse that unites body and mind, the current that flows through every living being. Long after the last heartbeat has faded, the rhythm it embodied continues in other forms in wind and tide, in the turning of the earth, in the silent growth of new life. The eternal rhythm of life is everywhere, unbroken and serene, whispering through the world the same message carried by the heart within us, that life moves, always and forever, in gentle, endless flow.